How the heck is everybody doing tonight? Hopefully doing well. Let's see, who do we all have in? Looks like Acid's in, Uncle Krusty's here. Good to see y'all. Well, so far that looks like about it. Well, tonight's going to be a little different. We've never done this before. We kind of tested it a little bit over the New Year's, but it went well, so we thought we'd make it a permanent fixture on Montana Free TV. Of course, we had to rename it because, you know, the New Year's show wouldn't exactly work. But we now have Cussing Around the Campfire. Tonight, we have Mr. Grot in with us, plus you guys will be able to call in from your regular phone line. You'll see a number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. If you call into that number, you can ask us questions. There might be a little bit of an audio issue getting over to Grot, so I may be repeating your questions for him. But we'll see how it goes with a little bit of fun and practice here. So without further ado, oh, by the way, I wanted to look at one thing here. If any of you are a fan of Yellowstone, I found this meme today and I thought it was funny. So this here says, I need you to take Biden and Pelosi to the train station. So for those of you Yellowstone fans out there, you'll get it. But yeah, so without further ado, we are going to bring Mr. Grotness in. You all have talked with him before. Good guy. Knows his stuff. Grot, how you doing, sir?
Awesome, Andre. How you doing?
Everybody out there, if you could give us an audio check, I just want to make sure that you can hear him well enough. Oh, hey, there you go. A relaxing libation. Got it. So, yeah, tonight's just kind of a free-for-all. We're going to cuss and discuss and have a little fun and not get too serious. Uncle Krusty says, howdy, Grot.
Uncle?
Let's see. Deckard, how are you doing? Here it's cold and snowy up around your parts. Actually, we had a Chinook roll in today. Now, this is the fun part. Yesterday was, I think, a high of minus 17. Today, we have a high of 41 and everything's melting. Tomorrow is a high of minus 8. So, it's all over the place. Yeah, it's great fun. So, alright, I got a 5x5. So everybody can hear you well. Alright, that's a plus. What's the weather doing down there in your neck of the woods, Grot?
It's in the dead of winter right now. It's a freezing, like 60 degrees outside. So today it was like everyone was wearing coats, and I had a scarf in my office because it was frozen in my office, and so it was a hostile work environment. And so I wore a scarf and turned on my heater, shut the door, and then checked my spreadsheets. So tomorrow I hope it to be a better day.
You know, I was gonna say something right there, but I'm gonna bite my tongue. There's a slang term for the Air Force. I'm not gonna use it though.
The Air Force, it was freaking freezing. Don't get me wrong, right?
See, you went there. See, all right. I didn't even have to. So for those of you that don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, your rank in the United States Air Force is?
Captain, sir.
Captain. And he does some interesting things, some things that we're not going to talk about. But well-educated man when it comes along the lines of the military and U.S. history. So if anybody has any questions, Grot, I'm sure you'll answer them as you can. There are some things that we can't say, and we know that. What's that?
I'll keep him at the unclassified level.
Yeah. The I don't want to be redacting anything on this stream. I guess my screen. I could just permanent marker the shit out of my screen if I had to, but. So the weather's decent out there. Hey, were you you still thinking about coming up this direction next October-ish?
So I'm always thinking about it. It depends on what we do this summer. So my oldest, he turns 18 this year, and if he decides that he's gonna graduate and go off, this is the last hunting season that I would have with him.
Oh.
I'm taking him out to Wisconsin. We have a cabin out there in the forest, and so I've taken him out there before. He's done great work. So it might be my last opportunity. So I'm just thinking, like, how do I like maximize this last year with him? He might stay here after he graduates high school, but if he doesn't, this might be my last opportunity. And although he's seen whitetail before and done great work, he hasn't seen elk and moose and those things that Montana would afford.
Mm-hmm.
So always considering it.
Oh yeah. Well, if you've seen whitetail, you guys don't have mule deer down there, do you? You have blacktail and stuff like that, don't you?
Over in West Texas, there are mule deer out in the mountains, but
okay,
that's 12 hours away.
Oh Jesus! You might as well drive to Montana and shoot them then.
Yeah.
We grow them bigger over here anyway. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But in fact, I really wished I could have got you up here this year because there was rumors. I did not see them myself, but the gentleman that saw them, I respect his opinion. And there was probably 5 that, as far as the archery side of the world, you would have set state record. And they were all in the same bunch, so.
In your area?
Oh, yeah. And well, where this one came from. So, the same field. But what it is it's a kind of a deep ravine, well, where the Missouri River runs through. And it's a deep cut ravines that they come up out of, and on the top is big flats of nothing but grain fields. So they come up them cuts and come right out into the fields, and it's fairly easy pickings.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I've never done that either. So, like, that would be a first, not just for my son, and I think it's important for him to see those kinds of things. But that would be enjoyable to me, too.
Oh, well, it'd be fun to step him up a little bit, take him from whitetail, which, a whitetail buck's decent sized. But they're about half the weight of a mule deer. I mean, this one on the rail, he was 220 pounds dressed out. So they're big boys. And then we'd take him over and step him up into an elk. And then you realize how small deer really are. When you drop a 1900 pound elk, that's a whole different cat there, and he'd get his work cut out for him. Because
you ever been elk hunting archery style, or just with a rifle?
I don't do a lot of archery. I did in South Dakota and froze my ass off in too many trees and gave up on that. But but there are a lot of guys that archery hunt some of the properties that we have. So I'm aware that well, up until about 3 years ago, there was a bull pulled off just about every year of this little 500-acre stretch. But it's a 500-acre stretch that has a creek running through it, and it's constantly got water in it. So at the end of the summer, when everything's dry as a popcorn fart and that water's right there, they got a tendency to be able to find the water. And when you're that big of an animal, you have to find the water. And they're down there. Oh, I got, 6 or 7 pictures on game cams that were 6-point bulls, 7-point bulls walking through. And just every morning, come down, water, head back up. But
man, that's cool.
Oh, it's a blast. And then, you never know what the hell you're going to come across in Montana. I mean, you can come across a bobcat, a mountain lion. It's all kind of in the areas that we hunt, so. But.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, And a bobcat, I still haven't got my hands on a bobcat. They're fairly tricky, but if you do, well, what was it, 2 years ago? I think they were selling for like $940 for the pelt. So the Chinese were buying the hell out of furs here a couple of years ago, though, so I don't know if that's still going on, but... Are you Roosevelt elk? I don't believe they are Roosevelt elks in Montana. Roosevelt elks were actually brought in, if I remember correctly. Let me take a look here.
And wherever there's deer, there's going to be those bobcats, even down here in the south.
Oh yeah.
So if you get in any kind of hill country at all, like down here in Houston, I mean, there's not much whitetail. There's not going to be those bobcats. But in the hill country out towards San Antonio and Austin, every single place that there's whitetail, there's going to be bobcats, and you got to be ready for them because they'll sneak up on you.
Oh yeah, they're quiet little buggers.
Yeah.
Now I say little buggers because we're used to, running into a mountain lion. That makes a bobcat look fairly small. But when you're holding a bobcat by its shoulders and its feet are on the ground and its head's flopped over your shoulders, that's a good sized kitty. But Uncle Krusty, I did look. They are considered a Rocky Mountain elk, not a Roosevelt elk. So they're natural breed, not brought in. But yeah, well, and I looked at, I watched a hunting show here 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about a Sika deer. Have you ever heard of them damn things? Uh-oh, did I lose you? Grot, I might have locked you up. Hold on a second here. Well, we might have lost Mr. Grot for just a second. Hopefully he gets back on here in just a little bit. But yeah, so the Sika deer they're like miniature elk that they brought over from China, I think. And they are the goofiest looking damn things. Let me see if I can send Mr. Grot a message. He must have figured out I lost him there for a second. Hopefully we get him back in here and we can carry on this fun discussion. 4 degrees here in South... Oh, Jesus. Not putting your nose outside. I can't say I blame you there. But on the island, they have them in Hawaii. Okay. Yeah, and these guys were... I think the Sika deer they were hunting down in... I want to say it was somewhere down over in Florida, in that area. Oh, wow. That's interesting. My restream and everything shut down and restarted. Oh, that's odd. Well, as per usual, we're gonna have technical difficulty. Gotta love that. Go back into the live studio. And maybe get Mr. Grot. Be Sergeant Bob's in. Gotta love technical difficulties, don't you? Bear with me, folks. We'll see if we can get Grot back on the phone here. we go. Well, I had him, then he disappeared. Now he's back. What did you do?
Reset my phone. I think maybe my ExpressVPN cut us off. I'm not sure. Every once in a while it turns back on.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's a make a plug. ExpressVPN's very good. So if you don't want the government spying on you as easily as they can, ExpressVPN's pretty good. Over.
Well, and I'm guessing if anybody would know which one to use, you might want to listen to this guy.
So if all the ones that you can buy, like if we're going to talk about it for just a minute, if all the ones that you could buy, there are some free VPNs, but why are they free, right? Like they're selling your stuff, just like Facebook's free, right? But they sell all your stuff. So a lot of these VPNs, you're like, yeah, that's a free one. It's a good one. It's like the best rated free one. Yeah, but how are they making revenue? And so you think that you're secret, but you're not. And no VPN is secret, but at least this makes some obstacles for the other agencies to have to go through. So ExpressVPN, I found in my research and being in the intel industry, like that's probably the best one that you can get for your money. It's the best value. But anyways, I'm done plugging.
So there you go, folks. ExpressVPN, look into it. I know I've kicked it around here too a little bit, so I'll be probably signing up with that. But I know every once in a while VPNs cause a little bit of problems with streaming, so we'll have to tackle that when we get there. But yeah, just like now. but then again, they're doing their job, so can't complain about that. Let's see, what else do we got? We got Sergeant Bob is in the house, I see. 24 degrees Fahrenheit and falling over in his neck of the woods. And, yeah, that's chilly enough. Oh, I've gotten a permanent salute there for a little while. You locked up right here, sir. I didn't know if I was supposed to say at ease or what in the hell was going on there. But, yeah, so, hey, Sarge, by the way, did you ever get your, let's say, issues figured out with your beer can collector? It had became a Pampers collector there not too long ago, I heard. That's not good. Uncle Krusty, thank you for the diamond. But yeah, I don't know what do we got going over on Foxhole here, and something's not right over there, so give me just a second. Uh-oh. He's showing off the Christmas tree. He is. He's showing off the Christmas tree. Good Lord. Hold on a second. I hate that about Foxhole. When you update it, it doesn't save your settings when you got out. It's a work in progress. They're getting it there, and to be honest with you, it's probably going to be future home for a lot of people that you listen to elsewhere. But we'll see how it goes. 90% sure, but can't prove it. Only one kid in diapers in 6 square miles. There's a fairly decent chance you can pinpoint which one did it then. Daily Insanities over on Foxhole lurking. Good to see you. But, yeah. So anyway, why don't we, if someone would, you can see the number scrolling across the bottom screen there, 406-284-5540. If you would, let's test this out. Give us a call in and see if Mr. Grot can hear you. First off, that's going to be the other trick. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so anyway, when you locked up, I was talking about Sika Deer. Have you ever come across any of those?
No, sir.
Yeah. So they're a miniature elk, basically. And when I say miniature, they're like, I don't know, 22, 23. Well, no, they're they're not even that tall. A trophy rack, if I remember correctly, they said was between 15 and 18 inches tall. So they're just these little buggers, but it's funnier as hell because they bugle just like a full-sized elk. Make the same sounds, the whole 9 yards. So I'm watching this hunting show, and they're talking about Sika Deer, how they're mini elk. And I'm watching this damn thing come out of these. They kind of enjoy the marsh ground, so they're coming out of the. Oh, there you go. Yes, and the Everglades. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're coming out through some tall, nasty grass shit that I don't know how anybody hunts in. But here, this little thing comes walking out, and it's probably no taller than the size of your desk. You know, like 34 inches to its back. Just this little shitting bastard. And they don't lose their spots, so it looks like this Bambi-looking thing walking out, and I'm going, you went through all of that to hunt that thing? I mean, they walked in like 2.5 miles through this muck and had high waders on to get to their stand. And yeah, no, ain't worth it. You've been with Foxhole for day 1. Oh, okay. We had a blast breaking it in at the beginning. Oh, I bet. Anytime you fire up a new platform like this, I'm guessing right at the beginning was a challenge, let's say. I was trying to find the good word there. But so yeah, so what's I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. What's going on currently that you can speak of that we need to maybe be concerned about?
A lot of posturing for the U.S. Indo-Pacific AOR. So just for that area, because it's kind of volatile right now, especially if you start talking about the Philippines and China and Taiwan, right? So that sort of area of responsibility, like what do we expect to happen? And based on those expectations, what can we do now to prepare so that if something were to go really wrong, like how do we prepare to win? And what does that look for all of the different MDSs, all the mission design series, which is another way of saying all the different kinds of planes. Like, so what does it mean for those different kinds of planes in that area of responsibility with our current geopolitics? And so there's a lot of focus on that with a lot of classified briefings and preparations for exercises. And that is the area that we're focused on a lot. But you can't forget about the other AORs, the traditional CENTCOM, Central Command AOR in Iraq and Afghanistan, that area. That still is kind of warm. It's kind of warm right now. And then a lot of moves that Russia is making too. So there's like things that are happening. And so how do we, as a military, prioritize those? What does that look like? And then how do we prepare now for that future fight with some peer-to-peer and near-peer countries? So that's what it's looking like for us now. And so a lot of preparation from the command side to how do we make sure that our troops are ready for that. And that's completely in class. And if you want to get in the weeds on that, you can ask me some more specific questions and I'll see if I can answer those. But that's what we're focusing on now.
Ranking wise, I'm guessing it would be, like you said, the Indochina stuff. Then I don't know. Would you put Russia above our Middle Eastern issues right now? But is Russia just posturing? Is my question
right now? Like you can Google and find in the 2018 National Defense Strategy. So a lot of people haven't read that document, and it's unclassified. So everything that I say here will be based on that document because the 2022 NDS isn't published yet. There are draft versions. So I'll just quote things that are unclassified that probably our audience doesn't know anyway. So so I would not rank Russia over China, but I would rank Russia over CENTCOM.
Okay. And God, you just wonder sometimes if Russia's just doing a little posturing, because they went after Ukraine before.
Russia always postures.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's
about that, but almost everything that they do is posturing. that doesn't mean that they're weak. I'm not saying that. That's not what that means. But a lot of things that they do are sort of like being on stage and wanting to be center stage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you're not the lead actor. You're trying to take over the lead actor role. Russia does that a lot, and I don't mean that in like a disrespectful way. They're a strong country.
No,
I don't think that they're the same threat that China is. But you still have to be strong. You still have to negotiate with them, be diplomatic. They're a strong country.
well, and sometimes, you know, there's times where it seems that they use Ukraine as a little bit of a ploy to maybe get diplomatically more ahead in the world. You know, it's always, well, you know, I think the last time around it was the oil issues. If you let us do this, we'll back out of Ukraine, we'll leave it alone. And we did. And I think this time around, again, we have a slightly weaker administration than we had before. So I think they may be seeing their opportunity again to do a little posturing and say, we're going to go do this and see what they can get for it. It's kind of like going into your boss and telling him that you're going to quit. You know, hoping to get a little more money. But sometimes that don't work, though, and I don't know if this time around if it's going to work. I don't know if we have the ability to give them what they want right now. But
there's a lot of geopolitical examples right now to align and agree with what you just said, but just based on perceptions, right? Because so many decisions that countries make are based on perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's true or not, right? Like perception is reality. And so if you seem weak, even if you're not, right? If you seem that way, people will make moves based on those perceptions. There are consequences based on those moves. And so I'm not saying that our president is weak. I'm not saying that.
No, and you
there
can't.
Seem to be events that are happening where one would think that other countries think that maybe he is, or maybe it doesn't have a lot of bite to a bark. And I'm not saying that he doesn't. He may have a big bite. But people are making moves to test those boundaries, and kids do it, right, with parents and authority figures. They just want to know where those boundaries are, and when you get a new president and he's only a year in, right, people want to test those and see what's going to happen, and that happens with every president, and I think right now it's happening with ours.
Yeah, gonna see if he's got a set of teeth and knows how to use them, basically.
If he wants to use them.
Yeah.
You have a big dog that doesn't bite. You know what I mean? You can have one of those. Or you could have a small dog that'll bite the shit out of you.
Yeah, tear your ankle up. Yeah. It's I don't know. I sure don't feel what's a good way to put this? I don't feel like we got a fighting dog right now. I think we got a... Well, you can't say this, so I will. We have a dog that wants to roll over and just have you pet his belly, and he goes and takes a nap.
And I don't know that because he hasn't been tested.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I hope we don't get tested, let's put it that way, but I think we're going to see whether or not the man's got a set of teeth. I don't know if it'll be this year, but it's going to be in the near future. There's too much money being spent moving around military assets to not use them. Put it that way.
I do want to say to our small audience. I mean, this is recorded; it could go out all over the world. But to our small audience, there are a lot of people that put a lot of emphasis on what Russia is doing on their border right now. And one thing that is unclassified that I would say is that they do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that they're not a threat, right? But this isn't new.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the China is definitely the much larger threat than what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, because China is doing it very covertly. You're not hearing everything that's coming out of there. You know they're posturing for it. The only reason that they missed the window right now is, if I remember correctly, the Taiwan Strait is rather volatile right now, weather-wise. So if they didn't do it by November, they had to wait until, I don't remember the exact date, and I'm not going to quote facts that I don't know, but it's more in the springtime is when it starts to become a little more passable. So take that for what it's worth. The gentleman down here in the corner can't help me on that situation, so we're just going to leave it at that. But whenever you have a country trying to hide what they're doing, there's usually a better chance that they're serious about what they're wanting to do. Russia, on the other hand, I mean, if you really, I mean, if we nuts and bolts this thing, if it's not mostly posturing, are you going to release every few weeks how many troops you have on the border? Tell the world that you have 10,000 troops. Oh, I put 10,000 troops a day down there. I moved in this many tanks. I moved in that. Well, the only one that actually is that stupid would be our president, because the last time he met with Putin, he told him, hey, here's 16 targets I don't want you to hit. Makes a lot of fucking sense. But and there you go. Play with the tree. but yeah, it's I think Russia is doing a lot of posturing, and they're, like you said, they're the kid that's trying to see what they can get away with. I think China is taking it a little more serious than Russia is, by far. I mean, when you go through the process of making your civilian ferries into military cargo ships and still leave the ferry on top and leave them in order, you know, in working conditions for the civilians to use, you're not doing that because they don't know how to build a ship. And they proved they can build a ship fairly quick. They're doing that in hopes that nobody would catch them having the ability to move equipment over to Taiwan quickly. Somebody happened to release some information to us and we found out about it. But when they're pulling shit like that, what else are they pulling that we don't know about? But so yeah, China, I definitely wouldn't trust them at all. On a diplomatic stage, usually the sneaky son of a bitches are always sneaky son of a bitches. It doesn't matter what stage they're standing on. The Russians, they're just, I don't know, chest beaters. But and they've always been that way, all the way back to Stalin. I mean, all the fun we had there. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out methods. Wants us to do this, help make the site better and stronger. Oh, that's good. I guess we're purposely going to try to break Foxhole. Sweet. But yeah, it's getting on about interesting times here real soon, I think. And the other fun part on our half, even when you have a weak president, war is always good for business. So you got a weak economy right now. You could be pressured into making this into a physical war more than a war of words. Not that that's ever happened before in the past. We've never used a war to bump up our economy.
It's never happened.
Nope. Mm-mm. We're always purely just in our actions.
Beautiful. Yes. Just war theory. Every time, 100%. It's the only Christian way to go to war.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money in that whole war industry and war complex, but and we have to use it.
I did a analysis on the consumer price index for urban dwellers, and I looked all the way. I looked at every single month, all the way back to the 1900s. Like it was like 1907 or something. It was far back as all of the data goes, and I exported all the data to Excel, and I analyzed it all. I love data. I'm a nerd that way, so. Um, So I analyzed it all, and whenever the year-on-year average, and I have all the numbers and I highlighted them all, whenever the year-on-year average went over or up to 10%, there was a significant event. And it only had happened 4 times in history. So it was World War One, World War Two, the Vietnam War, I think it was 9/11, and I think we're getting close to this COVID. And I thought that was interesting. And every one of those ended up in a war. So what you're talking about is supported by data. If you look at CPIU and inflation numbers, just out of like government programs, and you just little bit and analyze it. And so, yeah, 4 times has it been over year-on-year average of 10%. And anyways, so like you're saying, you're alluding to, like there's a lot of money in it, and that's true, and I agree with you. But I also think that it's a way to recover an economy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where I'm coming in with the money is. It's a really quick way to ramp up GDP.
It is. And China does it. Russia does it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Every first world country does it. I mean, hell, Sweden does it, for Christ's sakes. We're not looking too good. Let's build 2 more submarines. Why? It's fucking Sweden. They've never needed a submarine. But they got them. Yep. And all they do is put around and look at the glacier, I guess. I don't know. But, and Sergeant Bob, I got to agree with you. I want you to make sure I'm not being harsh or being rude towards our military men and women. So he says, until it's on your soil, careful what you wish for. Absolutely. Unfortunately, through economy, it's already on our soil. It's cold right now. But you travel the West Coast and see how many ports are owned by China. You start to realize that they're already here. Unfortunately. And there we go again. The U.S. wasn't doing very good back in 2008. When were those ports sold? I was out here when they sold in 2008. So, unfortunately, not enough people were paying attention, and we know that they're already on the ground. They're already China owned. And I don't know how much, I haven't actually looked at it recently, but how much debt of ours does China own?
It's not as much as you would think. But I
was going to say, wasn't it getting paid down fairly quickly?
It was, and the last time that I checked...
How you doing with that phone?
Trillion. It was trillions, but it wasn't like 27 trillion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, as a percentage of our debt, man, I can't remember, so, don't quote me on this, but it was something like 10% or something.
Well, and now... Since we went COVID crazy with, trillions of dollars, I'm sure our debt is, not towards China, but they're not as nearly a significant part of our debt just in the numbers, because now you're $30 trillion in debt. So
yeah, you just printed money. You didn't necessarily loan it out as T-notes or anything. You just printed money, and that's why when you look at our CPIU and inflation, it's just as insane. It's not because somebody loaned us the money, right? Which doesn't necessarily increase the amount of dollars chasing the same amount of products, which causes inflation. Just printing money increases the amount of dollars chasing the same amount of products, which causes inflation, and you see that inflation moves in CPIU, right? So like if all of our COVID spending was China borrowing or loaning it to us, then we wouldn't see the CPIU and
yeah, you wouldn't have a 7.6% inflation rate right now.
That's just straight up printing dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're doing that, well, and we all saw it. I mean, I guess we don't need to talk about it.
Right. So now we own the Federal Reserve. So who owns the Federal Reserve, which is a private company? Like, I know we start going down into the rabbit hole, which I won't do right now, but like
careful, we'll get Uncle Krusty up here and we'll all be going nuts.
No, he would be perfect for this.
I know.
Because he can speak more freely than me, but like that is a private company that is loaning the money for us to print the money for COVID. So now we owe them. Who do we own really, right? Like, who do we owe? That's a question that I don't want to answer right now, but it's a scary answer. It doesn't lend yourself to being sovereign, is what I mean.
Oh, not by any means. Well, and we also don't base the dollar on gold anymore. We base it on oil, so that should give you a hint on who's going to own that.
The Saudis who bombed us in 9/11.
Yeah. Yep.
We didn't attack Saudi Arabia.
Well, and that's the the number one reason that our debts to foreign countries was going down was because we happened to hit this gigantic oil field over in the Bakken.
Yeah.
And suddenly we were back in control of our U.S. dollar again. Now, not so much.
What did George Washington call that? Entangling alliances, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Oh. Petrodollar. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and that's... I don't know. It makes you wonder how much actual gold is sitting around in the U.S. anymore. I doubt there's much. But...
Keep on it.
Yeah.
Buy it. Keep it in your house.
Oh, yeah. You can still find it in Montana if you look hard enough.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd say buy silver because it's more easily denominated, but...
Yeah, it's way easier to trade silver than gold when shit really is. I mean... You can for larger purchases, but it's finding that person that's willing to give up that much to cover your gold note compared to silver. That's going to be a little difficult. That's why I'm,
And you drop a gold coin. Can you imagine how much flour you're going to get? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, how do you use that much flour? You know what I mean? Now you're spending like all your free time trying to like sell flour to your neighbors because you have like 50 pounds of it. You know, that's ridiculous. I'm not saying gold's ridiculous. I'm saying like silver is more easily denominated, so you don't ever have to deal with that issue, right? If you want 50 pounds of flour, like you can pay for that in silver.
Well, to put it in the equation of, let's say the U.S. dollar, it would be like carrying around a pocket full of hundreds instead of carrying around a pocket full of 20s. It's going to be harder to use up and not being able to break that 100.
That's right.
So
exactly. Carry 20s.
Hey, Texan. Good to see you there, sir. I'm guessing I know why you weren't feeling well. Seeing how I went to bed at 5 o'clock this morning, you prick. But silver's also has many other applications. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's what's pushed the dollars per silver ounce up is the usage that's going into silver now. Silver's still it's a precious metal that's used in industry also, so you have two folds on the market there. But when gold was at, what the hell was it, $2,800 a troy ounce? Well, let me tell you, everybody figured out that they could use silver and make appliances work just as good as they could with gold, so. But, and let's see, what else do we got? So what directions, because, I mean, you've been here since damn near the inception of this show. You know it's a little bit of a preparedness-minded show. Last time around you talked about what's logistically getting your local community together, which I think is a great idea. What would you suggest people doing on an individual level?
Like in their own home?
Mm-hmm.
So we just talked about silver, right? So you're going to need so think of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the way, like, all politics is local, and you can't get more local than your own house, right? So think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like, it's not perfect, right? And like, who's trying to get to self-actualization? I'm just trying to be like who God wants me to be, right? Which is self-actualization. It's not necessarily meeting all of my needs, because he meets all my needs, right? So like, Maslow's isn't perfect if you have like a Christian foundation, but it's a place where like people can understand. Maslow's is a theory and philosophy that like at least Christians and Christ followers can use to speak to secularists and other people, right? So so I would say Maslow. Start at Maslow's at your house, right? Like, you need water. Okay, so like, get a bob for your house so you can put it in your bathtub and hold an extra 100 gallons of water should shit hit the fan, right? Get a Sparklets subscription also, so that you have like not just a bob in your bathtub, but you've got like an extra 30 gallons of water laying around your house, right? So
yeah,
that's something easy that you can do. Food, like, so you're gonna need long-term storage and like 25-year stuff. You're gonna need 1 year stuff that you cycle through, and you build up your 1 year supply, and then that's when you start taking the lunch when you go to work, right? You cycle that in and out, and so then you always have a 1 year supply.
And you're always rotating stock.
That's right. So that's something that you can do there. If it hits the fan, like locally in your family, what can you do? If it hits the fan and you have prepared, your kids probably told their friends, right? So their friends probably are hungry and telling their parents, and their parents are going to come over and steal your shit, right? So like, now you're going to need guns and ammunition, right?
Mm-hmm.
After all of that happens, and in just a few weeks when everybody goes to the FEMA camps, and in a couple of months when everybody who didn't prepare died or went to the FEMA camps, right? Like, now what do you do? So you're going to need seeds, and you're going to need good seeds that can reproduce and at the end bear fruit so that you can have more seeds. So just stock up on, 10,000 of those. I have them. And that way you can just grow in your backyard and your neighbor's yard, because your neighbor's yard is evacuated. Nobody's there. FEMA camp, right? So like, you have all of this urban farmland, so you can use it. Nobody's there.
Yeah, and most of it's already irrigated. But
right, it's level. Yeah, for sure. So,
yeah.
Like, I would just start at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Google it, search it on your favorite web browser. It's going to come up as a pyramid. Start looking at those things, and those are easy, especially right now. All right, so those things you can get them. They're easy.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in a closet with all of your stuff, and that's your go closet instead of a go bag. It's your go closet, because that's how much you need. You need a truck or something that you can transport it all in the trailer to get out of town if you need to, and if you don't need to, then that's your go closet. I don't know a lot of people that talk about that. They talk about go bags. I get it.
Yeah.
I want a go closet. I want to stay where I'm at. I want to defend it, and so that's things that we can do.
And I look at it. I never call it my go bag. It's my get home bag. I have a get home bag, and then I have my go house. I mean, so I was looking. We talked about those cabinet storage that they have at Sam's Club. I don't know if you've ever looked at those, but they're like a 48 by 72 lockable roller cabinet, and they're $190. You can't beat the damn price on them. They're stainless steel doors, and the nice part is they're cheap enough you can kind of mod them out a little bit, and it doesn't Doesn't kill you to drill a hole in the back of it. Let's put it that way. And I don't know. I know there's guys out there that love their gun safes, but being on a fire department will tell you that gun safe, if you're looking at it for fire protection, you're not going to get it open after it burns anyway. It really doesn't matter. And the ones that we have opened up, there's nothing left inside. I mean, they become a gigantic oven within a half hour. The best ones, I think Liberty Safe runs 45 minutes. But where do most people have their gun safes? They're usually in the basement of their home because they have to be on a concrete slab, or they're out in their garage. Well, the hottest fire starts in your garage, and the longest fire ends up in your basement because the house collapses in. So I wouldn't even... One thing, I can't get into a safe fast enough when I need to. But I do like the idea of the lockable cabinet. So what I did was actually took all the shelves out of one of these units, built my own gun rack inside. I can put about 30, just under 30 rifles in it, if you stack them in right. Because it's wide enough, any of my carbines lay behind all of my long guns. Not that I have a lot of them. They all fell in the ocean. But... Yeah, but you can stack quite a bit in there. It's fairly... It doesn't stick out. It doesn't say Liberty Safe on the side. It doesn't say, Browning. It doesn't say any of that. It just looks like a kitchen cabinet. So somebody comes in there, in your house, they have no idea what the hell's in there. Got a lock on it. Half of my stuff sits in... Well, most of my stuff fits in there. For all of my hunting gear, all of my... different kind of hunting gear, and any of my added stuff, there's actually a shelf above that's, you probably have 18 inches of room, so it's 18 by 24 by 48. So any of your ammunition, stuff like that, can stack inside. It's all steel shelved, so it's all in one spot, and there's a reason I also like that. I can sight another scope in if I have to, if it gets beat around in there a little bit, but I can wheel that sumbitch right out my front door, right into the back of a pickup and be gone. So, something to think about. You guys haven't looked in on that.
That's cool. I have too much stuff for that. I can't imagine something on wheels. It's all centrally located, and I took a really big closet and put a lock on it. And in Texas anyway, so all of these rules are going to be different in Texas. And because of the company that I have, I needed to be able to store these things in different places. And a safe, by definition in Texas, has to be lockable. It doesn't say it has to be impenetrable, right? So putting a door or just using a closet and putting a lock on the door, where you need a key from the outside to open it, is technically and by definition a safe. So I turned a huge closet into our go closet, and it has everything that we need. And there are things other places in case some certain kinds of entities come and take all of that, right? So we'll never be without. But that is a place where most things are centrally located, and it's 8 feet tall.
Sure.
3 feet deep, right? 4 feet wide. And you can fit a lot of long-term storage food and ammunition cans and lots of carbines and things that you sell on Texas Gun Trader, right? So they're all gone on Texas Gun Trader. But if I still had them, I could put them in there and they would fit.
Yeah.
So turning a closet into a gun safe by definition is legal and useful.
Well, and the best part is if you're in a closet, you're not going to spend a whole lot of money remodeling that into a usable space. Not huge. Basically dump an exterior door in and a deadbolt, and you're good to go.
And your kids' friends aren't going to be able to get into it. Yeah.
Now mine, I have had some experiences building closets in other locations. One trick I'll tell you, have you ever put chicken wire inside of your sheetrock walls?
No.
Try that sometime. You'd be surprised how hard it is to bust through sheetrock with a little bit of chicken wire behind it.
Because it can't fold in.
Mm-hmm. You staple it up on the studs first, and then you put your sheetrock up on it. And whenever you hit, you can't get that percussion to fold that wall in to break it open.
Get out of here. Where'd you see that at? Or you just figured it out?
I had an older gentleman that I came across here in Montana, and he informed me on that. Now, he went a little more extreme in his house. He actually had chicken wire on one side and then woven wire panel on the other side, inside the wall. So you couldn't see it, but even if you got through that sheetrock, you were going to have a hell of a time getting into the other side of that room. But
that's clever. I like that.
Yeah, because, I mean, if anybody's ever busted down sheetrock, you know, as long as you can get that little bit of a bend, it pops pretty easy, and then you're wide open. But
then you just turn it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can just stop that little bit of a bend, you got her made. But Dixie Doodle has a go house. Now, there you go. That worked.
Absolutely.
I don't. Do I have a go? I don't have a go house. I got a go truck.
I don't know Dixie, but I like Dixie.
Deco has wire in behind it. Yep. Yeah, it is a son of a bitch. But I have a BB gun. Does that count? Well, depends on the BB gun, Krusty. Keep saying people are missing the boat on those high-powered, large caliber air rifles. There's some that maybe somebody that's opening a gun store might want to look into. Have you played with any of those? Like a 45 caliber? Oh boy. Yeah, you need to look into those. They're not quick to shoot, although you can get them fully automatic in 22 caliber. But the nice part about an air rifle is it's not considered a firearm. So you bypass all of those rules that apply to a firearm. And now they have, I think the last time I looked, they were up to 50 caliber, but the 38 caliber, which is, 38 special, they were getting just over 1,100 feet per second out of a 38. For an air rifle, that's moving pretty good for that large of a pellet.
Dang, that's freaking awesome.
And you walk in, give your money to the gentleman, he hands you the air gun, and you just turn around and walk out the door. There's no paperwork, there's no filing, no nothing. No registration for that. So, wonder if that would create a Faraday room. Texan, you can create a Faraday cage with it. The chicken wire is a little too wide, though. It'll still let some of magnetic traces through. But you can buy brass cloth, and it's thin enough that it has small enough holes that fairly decent chance nothing's going to get through. Now, the other thing you could do is make sure that chicken wire is grounded, and that would help you out a lot. But just to give you, there was a question in there I had to answer, sorry. But, yeah. Let's see, Uncle Kristen.
I'm going to have to go pretty soon. I'll take any questions if anybody has any, but, obviously don't feel obligated. But unless there are any questions, pending your questions, as we say in the military.
Yeah, there you go. So, what do we got? 5 minutes with you left, Grot, and then we'll.
Sounds good.
Okay, so get your questions in, folks. If you got 5 minutes with a guy that can answer auspiciously, let's say. I don't know what's a good way to put that.
That's right, and it's no problem if nobody has any. A lot of times, as a commander, I'll sit up and say, "All right, I won't leave until y'all ask me 3 questions," and it'll take like 10 minutes for people to ask me something. right? So if there's nothing, pressing, that's okay.
Gotcha.
I'll leave you alone, and I'll get back to the family for a little bit.
Alrighty, sir. Miss JLK says that the new generation of air rifles is not your daddy's BB gun. I believe that was supposed to be Hella, but she put Hecka because she's a nice gal. They're Hecka powerful, so.
They'll kill. I mean, they kill things. They kill marmots.
Oh,
Rodents and,
they're getting to be very popular for hog hunting. And that,
I know they kill rabbits easily, but hogs, huh?
Yeah, they're because they're quiet. So you can take a shot with it and have a follow-up shot on another pig at the feeder. They don't even move. They're not breaking the sound barrier yet, so you have no crack. About the only thing you have is that whoosh of air that comes out, and then they go quiet again. So it's not that shrill bang that comes out of a rifle. And if I remember correctly, it's either one of the ones that I looked at, either the 45 caliber or the 50 caliber. You can also shoot arrows out of it, archery arrows. Yeah. And we got a call. You're on Montana Free TV. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Montana? It's Mr. Uncle Krusty.
Hey, Uncle Krusty, what are you up to? Grot, can you hear him at all?
I can hear him through yours.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, I was just calling to give you guys a heads up, a hello. And how you doing, Mr. Grotness? Good to top of the day to you, sir. Yeah, I can hear Grot in the background. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me see if I can get this. Hold on just a second. I might have a way around this. We may get an echo, though, so hold on to your shorts. Let's see. I'll add in. Yeah. He's bragging about that dang hat again. See how he is? Let's see. Input.
Looking at hat, man.
Actually, I know how I can do this to where Grot can hear you. We're going to lose Mr. Grot for a second, but we'll just share. Nah, hang out. You can still talk. You'll be down on the bottom. They just can't see you. We're going to share a screen and go to that. Now, go ahead and talk, Mr. Crust.
Okay. I want to let you guys know about the air rifle thing, because I was into that for quite a while. When I was doing wildlife remediation, you can use 22s in our area, but a lot of areas, they really look down upon it, because obviously the report, and then you're going to have to deal with cops and whatnot. In that line of work, you're generally familiar with all of the police and authorities, of course, but they highly recommend air rifles, and that's what I used to carry, and actually I still use it, 22 caliber, and I'll tell you what, I'll put down a coyote with it. Everything, I get groundhogs with them, everything. You can take them up into an attic. You don't have to worry about pass-through. They're quiet, so it's not going to upset kids and people in the neighborhood. You don't get the response from the public as if you were using an actual rimfire rifle or even a regular 22. So that's one thing to look out for. And the other one that you did bring up is your licensing and registration issues. Very important. As well as weight, which a lot of people don't consider. There's a lot of keyboard commandos out there that I've got 5,000 rounds and my 50 cal and whatever. So, okay, you carry that for a mile.
Yeah.
You carry it for a mile.
Yeah, pack a 50 cal for a mile and with no rounds, just the gun, pack it for a mile and see how you feel.
But with a pellet gun, because you don't have all that extra brass and such, one, you don't have to worry about them really keeping them dry. You can carry a lot. You can carry a lot, and the report on those is not that far.
Yeah, so here, let me see if I can give an example here for folks. Oh, as I knock stuff off. So, Mr. Krusty is talking about a tin about like this. This is a 22 caliber, 14.3 grain hunting pellet, and This has 500 rounds in it. And it's about probably 3.5 inches by just over 3/4 of an inch thick. Throw that in your pocket, throw the rifle in your hand, you're good for quite a while.
And you're going to take down anything that's about 30 pounds and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a good quality scope on mine. I'm good to about 40 yards. Now, anything larger, I'd take a rabbit at 40, but I wouldn't try to get anything larger than that at that distance. If you're within 15 yards, it's gone.
Yeah.
You're going to dust it. As well as the amount of tissue damage isn't that extreme. They tend to operate, in my opinion, more on shock. The transfer of energy, all about that stuff. But
yeah, well, and that's why these pellets are designed. These are the hunter pellets. They're slightly designed after.
Man, when they flatten out, it's like a penny hitting them sideways.
Yeah, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this on camera, but there's a little bit of a hollow point there. And the thing is, they don't penetrate very far before they open either. So there's a whole lot of shock going into that animal, and it only penetrates maybe an inch and a half.
Yep.
But you think about how much energy it's dissipating in that inch and a half.
It depends on whether you hit bone and how far you are, but we use them in houses, especially attics and such, because you've got to be so careful about pass-through. And
yeah.
If you use a 177 in a house, it'll go clean through sheetrock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've actually had 177 go through a tin roof.
Yeah, so it's a great option, and for most people, entry level, $100, $200, you can get one in your closet. So there are a lot of people that, one, either don't want to be on a registry, two, don't want to have to go through all the BS in their state with the paperwork and such. The cost is also another big factor with firearms. Ammunition availability is another big factor.
Now, I'll ask you if you have you ever done the trick called dieseling? Have you ever dieseled your pellet rifle?
Yep. You turn the pellet around backwards. You fill the cap with Vaseline.
Uh-huh.
It's not good for your seals, but man, it makes a huge difference.
Oh, it picks up speed quite a bit. If you want to get if you want to take a 177 air rifle and get it well up over a 22 long rifle speed. Actually, I found out that Marvel's Mystery Oil, if you get a little bottle of Marvel's Mystery Oil and you put about 2 drips into that air chamber, when it fires, the reason they call it dieseling, if you don't know how a diesel engine works, there's no spark plug. What it is pure compression that superheats the air and then ignites the diesel and blows the piston back down. Well, you can also do that in a air rifle if you be very, very careful. I'm not telling you to do this. But you can put a couple of drops down into that piston, and when you fire it off, you will ignite that chamber inside, and you'll get them right up around 1,800, 1,900 feet per second. What I've heard. Never done it myself. But Mr. Grot, I'm sure you have to go. The family's probably telling you they need you around, so... thank you for coming on tonight, and Krusty, if you want to just stay on the phone, we'll slide you right in the spot, or you can I can shoot you a link in Discord if you want to pop up.
All right. Well, I don't have the system set up yet, so it'll take me a minute to do that. We can hang out on the phone for now. But top of the evening to you, Mr. Grot. Always good to see you, sir. You be well out there. Try to stay warm, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
And stay safe.
Yes. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
See you, fam. See you in the chat.
See you, sir. All right. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I come across that that little dieseling pellet rifle thing, and I thought, no, there ain't no way this can work. And yeah, it makes a report like a regular rifle, and you get it up over pretty good speed.
You get a lot more penetration. Accuracy does suffer a little bit at distance, which isn't necessarily a big deal, but because the amount of kinetic energy that you're delivering is just it's too much for most small animals.
Yeah.
The one problem with the dieseling, though, is the report. As you say, it will sound like the crack of a .22 rifle.
Yep.
You are going to pop the sound barrier.
Well, at that point, you are creating a firearm. I mean,
you technically, yes. Technically,
you know.
I don't know the ATF's going to be coming after you for a single-shot pellet gun.
No. Well, I take that back. They did. There's a story, an internet story on that, but I'm going to get to. The Texan made a comment that he has a Ruger Blackhawk pellet rifle, and it easily takes down squirrels and rabbits at around 50 yards. So. But yeah, there was if anybody watches Demolition Ranch, he almost got himself in a fair amount of trouble because he had set up a shot, and he wanted to see how many times he could hit a target with one shot was his plan. So what he went and bought was a bunch of black powder pistols because he was trying to stay legal. And he pointed one at the other, I think 7 deep or 8 deep. And then the last one shot the final target and busted a balloon or something like that. But when each one would go off, it would hit a trigger mechanism on the next one, and it would just ping pong back and forth up this valley. And the ATF got a hold of him, and they said, well, that sounds really cool, but you can't start it with a firearm. So he couldn't use a standard firearm to shoot the first pistol target, because at that point it would be considered a machine gun.
Yeah.
How stupid is that?
I think I read something about that. I did see the episode when it first came out. That was a couple years ago. It was very fascinating. It only took them like 2 tries to get it right. But yeah, that's the thing is now see, we can go into some territory here. I think the overreach with the ATF, the BATF, is just gone way too far.
I think they try to find a reason to create a new law, and that's the fun part. You never know if you're legal or not, because they change the laws every on a whim, however it suits them.
Well, they create them. They make the laws as they go along. So if somebody does something and it's not illegal, it wasn't illegal when that person had it or used it, they make a law and then make it retroactive. It's like, well, it wasn't illegal when I bought this or when I used this, but then you make a law after the fact and then say that it's retroactive.
Yeah, now, exactly.
It was legal at the time. You made it illegal at that time, post, the circumstance.
Well, and the best part is the creator of that factory or that piece of equipment, it's retroactive for him too. So he's looking at federal charges the minute they change the law.
Exactly. And
I mean, it's not like they just send you a cease and desist and tell you to stop. For instance, the lightning link is a prime example. It was just a piece of metal that was bent up in a certain way that fit into a military spec AR-15, and you could turn it fully automatic. But it was just a printed piece of metal. They changed the rules on it. At that point now, it is illegal. And if I remember correctly, that guy is currently serving 3 years. 3 years or 5 years.
Let's see, that's the difference between legal and lawful.
Exactly.
What the ATF was doing was not lawful. It was legal because it's a code or an ordinance or a violation of something of that nature. It's not a true law.
Yeah.
Make laws. Only God makes laws. So, it's a sticky wicket to be in. It really is, because you think you do everything, you go out of your way to be safe, to live by the rules, and then they say, well, that was the rule then, but we changed it, so now you're going to prison. So, wait. It doesn't work that way. Oh, yeah, it does now. Okay, then what type of political system are we living under?
Exactly. Well, like
it's on paper.
Like the Texan said, he had to get rid of his bump stock for his AR because the Trump stupid executive order that he signed after the Las Vegas shooting. And now they're legal again. But you've put companies out of business. You've done all of this on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, to bump fire an AR-15, it's not that hard. You don't need a stock. Put your thumb in your belt loop, pull forward. Not that I'm telling you how to do it.
A thumb, that's all you need.
Yeah. But
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's got to the point where I don't know. Do you think it can be redeemed? Do you think the Republic can come back from this?
No.
You think it's gone too far?
You want a blunt answer? No. It's gone too far. The only thing you can do now is a reset.
Yeah.
Now you can keep the fundamentals of the Republic, and I think we need to. But you need to put a hell of a lot more checks and balances in against the whatever you're going to call the entity that you put in power.
Well, if we just go back to the foundation of the government works for the people, not against the people.
Yeah, they're supposed to be a direct representative of the people.
Yes, and there's only one purpose for them. There's only one stated purpose for them. That is to protect and defend the nation as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to interfere with states. It's not to collect taxes. It's not to make new laws, as they call them, which they're not. They're not supposed to have any activity on domestic soil. But they do, and I think the foundation of what we have is good and is rock solid, but the house is jacked up. So we just take it down to the foundation, keep the foundation, and build a fresh, clean house.
Yeah, I mean, you have a great foundation with a house that went through a fucking tornado.
Yeah. So get rid of, demo the rest of the house, keep the foundation, and start fresh with quality products. No cutting corners. First, is an analogy.
Oh, whoops! I misspoke for Mr. Texan. It was an AK, not an AR. So now he and I get to argue about that. I shoot a Cadillac, he shoots a Rattleac.
I'll tell you what, man. I used to have a Chinese SKS Model D. It was the paratrooper model that accepted the AK Mags factory. You didn't have that stupid duckbill on them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a conversion kit. It was. It didn't have a bayo lug on it. It was made specifically for paratroopers. It's short, very, very short, lightweight, thumbhole stock. I loved that. Was probably one of the most accurate, fun rifles I've ever fired. And as far as cleaning and breakdown and its tolerances, it was as close to the best field rifle that I've ever owned. So, and I hate to say it because what have you, but it. Well,
and the SKSs were, they were a good rifle when they were made by Norenko. When you had.
Mine was.
Yeah, when you had 20 million offshoots that started, using stamp steel and subpar parts, they started to become less desirable, let's say.
The Yugoslavians really crushed the market with that. But the Russian-made ones were really good. The Norenkos were fantastic. And that's what the paratrooper Model D was a Norenko. The star stamped in it and everything. But I got to say, to those of you out there that might be listening, if you want a good intermediate caliber rifle, a hard hitter who'll get the job done, that you can get for a reasonable amount of money, those old military surplus rifles, you can't go wrong. Even a British 303, excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the British 303 is a little harder to find ammunition. Well, and actually the SKS is getting harder and harder to find ammunition for. But
2x39 because everybody's got so many AKs in this country.
yeah, exactly. But now, luckily, I'm of the different class. I'm 223, so mine are fairly easy to come across.
Now, that's just one thing, though, is a lot of people, they want to go brand new in the box, but I'm telling you, a lot of the sporting grade rifles, yes, you're going to have better accuracy. Yes, you might have better quality. But if you're on a budget and you're balancing between, do I spend $800 on or $1,000 on a rifle, or do I spend $400 on a used mil-spec rifle and then put the other $600 into food?
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're going to put your limited amount of resources, because as inflation goes up, your money's not going to go very far. I mean, we already lost, almost 10%. We're climbing up to 10% inflation.
Oh, yeah, I think the last I had heard, we're like 7.6%.
And it's not going to stop.
And now, mind you, that's 7.6% as a whole. When you start dividing it out by like auto industry, beef market, stuff like that, yeah, now you're into like the 20s, 24%.
Pork's gone up 25%.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's one thing that people don't understand is when you print more money, you're devaluating the dollar. So inflation is a tricky word. A lot of people think that it's getting bigger, like when you're blowing up a balloon, and that's the wrong way to look at it.
Well, you're blowing up the cost of the item.
The cost of the item, but not the value.
Not the value of the dollar, the cost of the item.
Yes, your purchasing power goes down.
Mm-hmm.
You need more of those to get the same thing. So it's a tricky word. A lot of people don't understand it properly. But it's a very, very big factor, because you figure 10% of $1,000, well, there's $100.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big difference. $100 worth of canned goods goes a long way. But that's something you're not going to have now. That's $100 worth of food that's not in your cupboard. It's in the hands of the government.
Mm-hmm.
So buy them now, folks. Get your goods now. Every channel I go to lately, even the ones that never talked about prepping, they had nothing to do with it. And even some of the channels that used to make fun of preppers, they're now promoting prepping. So when you see mainstream start to talk about prepping, you better get on the ball before you're being outcompeted by your neighbors who might have more liquidity, more cash on hand to go snap up those final resources that are available. When trucking shuts down, folks, you're going to be lucky if you got 3 days in your local area. Lucky. So
well, and the same people that tell you not to prep, our fine, fearless government, are also the same people that pay for FEMA that tells you to have at least 6 months of food and water on hand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're hypocrites. I mean,
yeah,
the hypocrisy within the system is overwhelmingly. It's so overwhelming. It's beyond disgusting. It became funny, and then it's at this point it's aggravating, to put it politely.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sergeant Bob says, and I can remember those days. He was buying Norinco SKSs in 3-packs for $73 each. Back when he was a dealer, I'm guessing that was early 80s.
Yeah, 80s to 90s. Even in the early 90s, you could still get them for $100 a piece.
Yep.
Then they went up to $129. I got mine for $400, but it's a very rare rifle. So I got
yeah.
a deal at $400.
Sergeant Bob just looked on Gunbroker for Norincos, and yeah, they're selling at $700 a piece.
Jeez. Do you imagine if when they were coming in at $75 a piece and you'd have bought 10 of them?
Oh yeah. Well, I personally know and have seen a case, and I'm talking a shipping container case of SKSs at $63 a piece come in.
Good Lord. Now, here's one thing about foreign imports that a lot of people aren't aware of, and this is really, really important, especially with Norincos, or any of the SKS families, AK families. They're going to be dipped in cosmoline.
Oh, yeah.
You have to strip the cosmoline off before you shoot it or do anything, because if you don't, that stuff is going to make a gum. It's going to solidify on everything, and your firearm will be worthless.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is burn cosmoline into the steel of your rifle. It never comes back out again.
It's ruined. It's going to affect the performance and the.
Oh yeah.
So you might go out and have a great day shooting, but when that thing cools down, that bolt carrier's not coming back anymore.
yeah, you're going to beat it on the end of the table just to get it open. But
the whole thing in turpentine.
Oh yeah, we used to have We had a 33-gallon oil drum that we'd cleaned out and cut in half and put it on a stand. And you could just dip the whole, you took the wood stock off, of course, but dipped everything else directly into that tub and left it there for, overnight. Come back out with a copper wire brush and start cleaning.
It's a mess and it takes time, but if you don't do that step, you wasted your money. You shouldn't have bought that rifle in the first place.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I've known a lot of people that have been disappointed with that because they buy them, they're great price. Like, I can get one for $150, $200. It's like, well, 7.62 by 39, very common round, great dependable rifle. Cool. They buy it, box of shells or two, go out, blow up some beer cans or something, and that's it. They spent $200 on a day at the range, and that's it. Because then they don't know what to do. It's like, dude, you burnt the cosmoline in, your rifle's jacked.
Yeah.
So, and then the wood, you got to do the wood too, because over time the cosmoline doesn't do the wood any favors.
Yeah, leaches into it. Well, and you got to remember that these rifles, although they were well built, they're coming from the country that uses steel casing that's varnished for their ammunition.
Stay away from Wolf ammo, folks. That's another one. Wolf ammo, man. Unless you like cleaning rifles, if you're really, really into cleaning rifles, go with Wolf. But also, Wolf has been known to be very inconsistent in its powder load, and sometimes that steel casing isn't milled to the proper specs, shall we say, not all that consistent. So
yeah.
Sometimes they'll shear or they'll crack and get lodged in your the barrel chamber. It's in the trunnion area.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not worth it. So you do have to take that time on the ones, but you can save a lot of money. Your labor is probably cheaper than the price difference of one that doesn't have cosmoline. Or if you buy trade-ins that have been here for a while, a lot of those will already be cleaned, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But those are really important factors a lot of people aren't thinking about.
Well, and the worst case scenario that I've ever seen with Wolf ammunition, and this very well could have just been a one-off, but the back of the case actually blew away and ejected, but the casing itself was still in the breech.
Mm-hmm.
So the next round that went in, it stovepiped right up there, and yeah, it was a mess. And I believe they took it to a gunsmith, and I believe he ended up actually having to replace the entire barrel because he could not get that chunk of steel out of that barrel.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah. It was not cheap for the young gentleman, but what you get for shooting shitty ammo. I mean.
Here's another big consideration is this is another thing that a lot of people don't know the difference about. If you do buy a mil-spec rifle that is made for military-grade ammo, don't try to cram cheap commercial brass in it. I used to have an HKG3, and the PSI in the bolt carried chamber was about 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's made mil-spec. It is not a 308 slash 7.62 by 5.1. It is a straight-up 7.62 by 5.1. If you used any commercial brass in it, what it would do is on the extraction, because the extraction is so violent on that rifle, it would rip the head off. Just like you said, it would rip the head off and then slam around into the tube of the brass that just got fired and then jam that down. And believe it or not, the HKs, they were issued an actual extractor tool because that was common for it to happen. So they made a special extractor tool that you could go in there and spin it out. It's a major pain in the ass to get them out when that happens. You're for the day, bottom line. But a lot of people see these, they'll try to run mil-spec brass in a commercial 223, or they'll try to run mil-spec ammo in a sporting 223. You're asking for problems.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say is you're asking for problems. A military rifle, you use military grade rounds. And if it's a commercial rifle, try to stay away from military grade rounds.
Yeah, you can go backwards. You can take a 223 and put it in a 5.56. But you cannot
the way around.
take a 5.56 and put it in a 2.23.
You can, but I wouldn't advise it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it'll shoot once.
I wouldn't advise it, but you can.
Well, and the other thing you look at is the increase in pressure compared to, because the mil-spec 5.56 actually has thicker brass on it.
Mm-hmm.
So your pressure levels, because it's not like it's a less of a load, it's just a smaller area that gunpowder gets to sit in. So it's actually, if I remember correctly, I'd have to grab my reloading books, but I think it's 10,000. I think it's 10,000 kph stronger pressure in that military case.
Yep.
And if you're shooting a bolt action that's not built to shoot that, you could have yourself a nice little, let's say, butterfly in front of your face when everything goes south.
You're gonna end up laying on the ground with somebody picking the receiver out of your face.
Yeah.
And then looking around for your hand.
Exactly.
So not a good idea. Yeah, that's the thing is I worry about probably a little bit more than most other subjects. There's a lot of people in this country that have never had a firearm in their life, and they're buying them for the first time, or have in the last few years bought them for the first time, and they go to range day and they do okay. But it's these things that the people that know firearms don't talk about this stuff very often. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows about it, so it's like bringing up this carrot is orange. Well, duh, everybody knows that. So why are you talking about it? But if you've never seen a carrot, then it changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it? And a lot of people that aren't familiar with firearms and how rounds are loaded, that sort of a thing, they can cause themselves more problems than they're trying to avoid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and in reality, the best thing you could do to understand the fundamentals of a firearm is, one, be around people that have been shooting for, all their life and still have all 10 fingers and 10 toes. But God, I would recommend that you go out and even, I don't care what book it is, go out and buy the cheapest reloading book you can find. Because in the beginning half of that reloading book, it's going to tell you exactly how that round in your gun works. Going to step you through all the processes, the procedures, and the pressures. And when you start to realize that, there's 30,000 psi of pressure that goes off in an instant within a couple inches of your face, you have a tendency to take it a little more serious.
I don't think a lot of people understand what 30,000 psi is. And like I say, the HKG3, the HK91, all of those PTR 91, they're running at 50,000 chambers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my 270 actually is at 61.
A lot of people don't understand what that means, what that equates to.
Well, 15,000 pounds of let's say, a water jet will cut a piece of steel in half.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doubling that.
Or tripling or quadrupling.
Yeah. So now keep that in mind, and you are igniting a small explosion. That's what it is. And that is going off, like I said, within inches of your face. Mm-hmm. So you better know what the hell you're doing before you squeeze that trigger.
Mm-hmm. That's I think where a lot of shows that talk about prepping and these sorts of topics could really do the public the greater good is with the education in that. A lot of people say they have a laundry list of things they need, food, blankets, bug out bag, firearm, and they just check it down the list. And it's like, wait, go back to firearm. How much do you know about that? I'm not talking about did you go to range day and punch some paper. I'm talking about how much do you know about different loads of ammo, different brands of ammo, and the firearm and how your firearm reacts with those different brands of ammo.
Well, and how your firearm acts with not only just different kinds of ammo, but so let's say we walk into Cabela's, because I don't know, that's a name that everybody knows. You walk into Cabela's, you buy a Remington 700 in 308. Your buddy
great choice.
Buys a Remington 700 in 308 at the same exact time from the same exact load that come off of that truck. Those rifles, to get them as accurate as possible, do not shoot the same.
Nope.
The bore is cut different. Your head spacing is different, because what you have to think is how they put a bore on a rifle, or how they put rifling in, is a large cutter bar that is pulled through in a spiral motion. So it's getting pulled through this barrel and turning at the same time. Now, they don't change that bar out for every rifle, but it does slowly wear over time every rifle that they do. So that's how your chamber, your bore, your rifling, that's how it slightly changes. And that's why when you hear them talk about a criminal investigation, they say the rifling matched. That's because every rifling is like a fingerprint on a person. It is designated to that gun. That's why when you buy a gun brand new, there's always an empty casing in the box. That empty casing is for two reasons. One, it says that they tested the firearm and everything works well. The other thing is the projectile that came out of that empty casing is registered with the FBI.
It's sitting in a locker.
Yes. So once they grab that serial number off that firearm, they look at it and go, okay, that's serial number X. Grab the little packet that has your bullet from brand new in it, and then they grab the bullet that is being investigated. They'll line those striations up on that round and turn them slowly to make sure each line matches. Because like I said, it's like a fingerprint. No two rifles are identical. And so and a lot of guys that get into reloading, they'll, instead of going out and buying a book and reading up on it or something like that, they'll go to someone's house to get into reloading that has, well, he's got the dies and all that kind of stuff. So I bought the powder and bullets and primers, and we're just going to do them over at Joe's house or whatever. Well, the problem is Joe has taken the time to figure out exactly how his rifle works. You have not. So Joe goes and loads up all of your ammunition for his rifle. You take it home. You go out hunting the next day, slam that bolt home, and you can't close it.
Mm-hmm.
Because your head spacing is already going into the rifling, because his bullet can be out further than your bullet can be. So now you got guys jamming rifles, jamming up into the frickin' chamber, beating on the frickin'... I've seen it, I don't know how many times at gun ranges. And you always walk over and go, oh, did you reload those? Well, a buddy of mine did.
Never use that reloads, man. Never. You want to hear a horror story about reloading? An absolute horror story?
Well, I got a few, but yeah, sure.
Now, this one I got, this one's publicly available. The How to Hunt channel with Steve Isdall. He's been a big game hunter all his entire life. He's been through the States and whatever. He's a pretty well-known guy. He tells a story of he was guiding some hunters. They were going after grizzly bear. So he's like, all right, yeah, we can go get a good-sized boar. They went out. They do their thing. Now, his buddy had made him a 20-round box of reloads. Said, here, man, I did these to spec. They're a little bit, they run a little hot, but it's going to be okay. He runs a 300 Win Mag short. He's like, they run a little hot, but it's going to work great for you. And he's like, all right. So he put 3 in the cart, or in the magazine, 3 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber, 1 in the pipe. He goes out, he hunts with it all year long. He never fired it because as a guide, you can't. Half the time, the guides don't even carry a rifle outside of for protection.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, they're not supposed. He's a Canadian. So he's got this rifle with these rounds in it, and he just leaves them in there. Well, one hunt, he's out there, and there's this huge-ass boar. Now, he lines his hunter up. Hunter takes the shot. Shot's pretty good, but the boar doesn't go down. Goes into a thicket of willow. Now, they've got to go in after him. They wait about an hour, and then they slowly start approaching it. Well, they can't see it because it's down in this willow thicket. They know he's in there, but they can't see him. And that's a real bad situation. So he starts going down towards it with the hunter, and that bull was not dead. He was pissed. And so he came charging out of there. Steve says he dropped to a knee. That's what you're supposed to do with bears, drop to a knee when they're charging, never stand up and shoot. You go right over their back. So he drops to his knees, getting ready to fire on it. The hunter takes a second shot and drops it within a matter of feet. Steve Isdall pulled the trigger as well. Nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad load. Could you imagine being in a situation like that, and you've got a bear that weighs almost 2,000 pounds, that stands over 8 feet tall on its hind legs, it's charging you at almost 30 miles an hour. You pull the trigger and it goes click.
Yeah, getting eaten by a bear with a fully loaded rifle is not a real good feeling.
Yeah, he said that was the one time in his life that he thought he was going to shit his spinal cord out.
I don't doubt it.
Bear that's head is the size, excuse my language, but you've got this bear that's got a head the size of a coffee table, and it's coming at you faster, as fast as a car, and it's very angry because you just put a hole in it, and your rifle goes click.
Yeah.
You don't have time to rechamber it with a bolt-action rifle, and even a semi-automatic. You're not going to have time to rechamber it. It's going to be eating your face.
Yeah.
So,
looks like I got a fellow Montanan over on YouTube. How's it going, Chris? Glad you're here. If you hang around more often, you'll see more of this. Yeah, we actually, a friend of mine had some 270 rounds loaded up by his father-in-law. And now, mind you, this guy had been reloading for years and years and years and years. But like you said, when it's not your own reload, I don't want to say that you don't have a tendency to pay as much attention, but you don't, We got him back to the house, and I said, let me see one of them rounds. It's a 270 round, so there's a fair amount of powder in it. I think I put 60... I think mine are 61 grains of powder of a Reloader 22. And I picked his round up and I shook it. And I could hear absolutely nothing.
Oh, no. Did you?
And I said, we need to tear this round. We need to pull a bullet and just see what's going on. See if maybe he missed powder on these and loaded them with a bullet and that's it. Which is also dangerous, and I'll tell you why. But we popped the bullet out. There was powder. There was powder literally indented into the back of the bullet.
What?
He had double loaded 7 rounds.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, how he didn't have just powder running everywhere, I have no idea, because 61 grains is... You're just at the neck at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And this was... we dumped out 67 grains, and we couldn't get the bottom half of the casing emptied because he had crushed it in there so hard that it had powderized that rifle powder, and it was clumped and stuck inside of the round.
I can't even imagine what it would be like.
Oh, you imagine if you touch that sumbitch off? Oh, Jesus.
I can't imagine what would happen if you pulled the trigger on that round. I wouldn't even want to be there. The thought of that makes the hair go up on my back, man.
Oh, I guarantee you the ears on that bolt wouldn't have held. I mean, that bolt would have come screaming backwards.
It would have held.
Oh.
Nothing about your face that would have held.
Yeah. Now, the other problem that you have when you can't hear powder in a round, there has been times where people have missed the powder charge, set the bullet. Guess what? It goes bang, because there's a primer in there. It goes pop.
It goes pop, yeah.
And that primer has just enough pressure to push that bullet about 4 or 5 inches down the barrel.
Yep.
Now, what do? Pop. God damn it, what the hell happened? Something that must have been a bad round. You're in a hurry, you eject the round, slam the next one home, bring it up to your shoulder. And if you've ever heard anyone talk about a swedged round, or a squib, exactly.
Squibs. Yep.
You squeeze the trigger, and it wedges that next bullet right up into the ass of the one that's stuck in the barrel. and that pressure's got to go somewhere. Now it can't go out the end of the barrel, so it's coming back at you.
Yeah, the barrel's the one that loses.
Oh, yeah, the barrel is a mushroom ball about this big around, wherever that round is. And
explode completely.
Yep. And you get to eat a lot of pressure.
Hot metal at 30,000 PSI.
Yeah, not the best feeling. Now, I've almost done that personally with a shotgun round, and it was loaded correctly. For some reason, the primer did not ignite. It ignited a small amount of powder. But I don't know if the powder was bad or something. That's the other thing. Make sure you know how you're storing your ammunition.
Was it wet powder maybe? Did it get...
It might have gotten wet once upon a time. I don't know. It was a dry round. There was no rust, no nothing on the brass. But I touched that off, and it just went thunk. Oh, well, that sounded freaking weird. Luckily, I was shooting a single shot New England firearm at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Popped the barrel open, and I heard BBs roll out the front.
Oh, shit.
So I could have very easily, because, at this time you have pheasants coming up all around you. Your adrenaline goes up a little bit. You just want to get the next round in and go. And I looked down the barrel, because once you fold those open, you can, it's just a pipe at that point. You can look straight down it. Mm-hmm. And I could see the wad about 2/3 of the way down the barrel. Now, you wouldn't think a plastic wad would cause that much problem, but I guarantee you, if I would have crammed that round in, brought it up to my shoulder and touched it off, I'd have had a split barrel in about 2 seconds.
See, that's kind of why I know it's an odd topic and probably one you didn't plan for tonight, and honestly, I didn't either, but it just came to mind that these are topics that are really very, very important for safety and just overall general knowledge, especially because there are so many novice users out there now, or owners, shall we say.
Hey, there's a reason I call this Cussing Around the Campfire. There is no plan to this show.
Hmm?
I said there's a reason I called this Cussing Around the Campfire. There's no plan to this show. We can talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about.
Yeah. If there's at least one person out there that's learning something from this, then we're doing a good service. If there's one person we can keep from having that happen, any of these topics we're talking about, any of these little issues, there's one person that can avoid that, having their face blown off, or their hand, or whatever, or ruining their rifle. Say they only got one rifle and in a situation where they can't go to a closet or a gun safe and just go grab another one or go down to the store and replace it. It's like you got one rifle and you're depending on that to feed your family.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know much about that rifle. You just know that, I put the bullet here and I pull the trigger and things go boom and I've got food. You're in a bad place at that point. If your only means of protection and or food gathering is not there anymore. And it's because of not ignorance necessarily, just not knowing.
Yeah, it's just not educated.
They just don't know any different. It's like, well, I don't blame you. I blame the fact that you don't know what the possibilities are with what you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly.
A vehicle. Well, if they don't know how to drive and they don't know, the importance of how fast a car can go, how heavy they are, what their tolerances are, it's a recipe for disaster. And it's no different than a firearm. It's a recipe for disaster. So a small amount of education, some campfire stories of how, things go bad and how things can go good. If anybody gets anything out of it, then I think we've done a good job.
Yeah, and it is, you have to remember, it's a split second that can change your life when you're shooting a firearm. Some of the best guys out there, some of the guys that do it for a living. Well, what the heck is his name? Kentucky Ballistics. He just went through a scenario shooting and in fact, I think it's what Ringo's talking about right here. He just went through he was shooting a Serbu 50 cal. And he had shot it many times, never had a problem with it. And he was shooting, I think Sabot rounds was what he ended up blowing it up on. But here's a guy that that's his livelihood. That's his life. He shoots guns for a living and talks about them, reviews them. He cracked off that Serbu, and the Serbu is a single-shot 50 caliber rifle with a threaded chamber at the back. So you slide the round in, thread the cap on, and then close it almost like a break-action shotgun. And it's a hammer-fired 50 cal.
Oh, good.
Well, these were old rounds. They were surplus rounds. And he touched that thing off, tore, let's see, what was it? It tore most of his hand, because he had his hand up, sitting up on the bipod, just kind of stabilizing himself. Tore most of his hand free or loose from like this finger to this finger, ripped it down. One part of that heavy ass plate that screws on the back broke off and hit him in the eye socket, shattering his eye socket. The ears that hold the rifle together in the worst case scenario, which it didn't work, one of the ears flew off and went just inside of his hat and actually came out the backside. So just kind of roped around his skull and popped out. And the other one went into his carotid artery and dove down into his lungs.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, so here's a guy, knows what he's doing. Has shot firearms all of his life. He was a ex-law enforcement officer. He's been trained around firearms. And the next thing he knows, he's trying to hold his life together by shoving his thumb in his carotid artery to stop the bleeding while his dad drives him to the hospital. So,
see, there you go. Perfect example. Even the best of the best have things go wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's you have to be...
I've seen a lot of stuff about people buying firearms and that sort of thing, and it's like, man, you're making me nervous, folks.
Oh, yeah. What drives me insane is when you have somebody that's never shot a pistol.
They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, never been around a pistol their entire life. They go out and they buy a Beretta or a Ruger American because that's what they saw on TV, whatever. It's a semi-automatic pistol. And then you see them arguing online or in chat rooms or even down at the local gas station or grocery store about, well, do you carry it on safe or do you carry it, on safe with a round in the barrel or round out of the barrel and off safe?
Mm-hmm.
If you've never touched a pistol in your life, you better carry that sumbitch without a round in the barrel and on safe. Or just don't carry it until you get used to that gun. Because I've seen many a semi-automatic pistol go off, being dropped, and having a round in the chamber. If don't have mine sitting close by, but I would show you the very, very small amount of metal that is holding back that firing pin. It ain't much. And it doesn't take much of a jar to get that thing to go off.
Yep. And that's a big, I don't know, that's a Ford Chevy debate. I don't know if that one's ever going to get settled.
Once the absolute safest way to carry is one not in the tube.
The absolute safest, absolutely. But then again, when something happens,
it's the slowest.
Say an assault, you don't have the time to rack the slide, and a lot of people that don't practice with them very often have a hard time racking that slide in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, and that's because, again, not understanding the mechanics of the gun, not out there using it. You have to get a feel for that firearm. To go and buy the damn thing at Cabela's because the guy behind the gun counter told you that this was the best thing since sliced bread, buying yourself an external carry holster because you want to be a badass and carry it where everybody can see it, and never firing that fucker, you're a bigger danger to yourself and everyone you're trying to save than you are if you didn't have that firearm in your hands.
As well as you just made yourself a target.
Oh, yeah.
Because if somebody's going to come into an area, say rob a store, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to do your best to disable anybody.
Well, I'm going to shoot the guy that has the gun.
Yeah, even though there's not one in the pipe and they don't know how to use it. But he's showing it off. You know, he's got that bling bling sitting there on the side of his hip. And,
yeah, he's acting like he's something special.
And yeah, until two dudes came in with shotguns to rob the store, and now, you know, everybody's hands are up and they look and they see that you're strapped. Guess what?
Yeah.
Not going to be your best day.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of these little things that can save your life, can save someone else's life. There's a lot of times like, well, the one I use an M&P S&C for work. I don't keep one in the tube because there's no external safety outside. It only has a trigger safety.
Mm-hmm.
I was to have one in the tube, and I went to grab that and pull it out of my back band. I do kidney carry. If I was to grab that and pull that out, and for any reason, God forbid, my index finger went across that trigger, I would either be blowing my ass cheek off, ripping, you know, it'd probably kill me, go right through my artery, or that bullet's going to go somewhere else and possibly hurt, injure, or kill someone else. Or if it dropped it, it's easy for those to go off when dropped.
Yeah.
So I don't carry one in the tube, and because of where my position is at work, I will have the time to go ahead and quietly rack that slide and get myself into position to do something. Kind of a tactical situation for that. But in most people aren't in that situation. They're driving around, they're at the store, they're walking, whatever. They're in their car, which is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
You better know what you're doing. That's all I got to say is you got to know what you're doing. But there's a lot of military guys, a lot of cops that'll tell you if you don't have one in your tube, then it's just worthless. You might as well throw it at them because you're not going to have the time. I understand that philosophy. Personally, I don't carry one in the tube, in the pipe. I
yeah. Don't. And I don't either, but I have practiced every time I go out shooting with a pistol for the first half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm practicing with dummy rounds. Just muscle memory. Pulling from my holster, coming up, putting hand on. As you come out, use that momentum that you're pushing forward, because you're going out anyway. Use that to rack your slide, roll underneath, cup your hands, you're ready to go. But you have to practice that, and practice, and practice, and practice, and practice.
Yep.
You never squeeze a round off. All you're practicing is getting that clear of the holster, coming up, out, on target. Coming up, out, on target. Up, out, on, and you do it over and over and over again.
And then once you do up, over, on target, pull the trigger, and then rack the slide. Rack the slide. Every time you do that, rack the slide. After every potential shot that you're going to take, get used to racking that slide. A lot of people, especially, no offense, but women, especially smaller framed women, tend to have a problem racking the slide on a lot of handguns.
And my wife was one of those. You know, I bought her an M&P, and she had just a hell of a time racking that slide. But that was because she would come up, out on target. This hand is locked forward like so. And then she's reaching, trying to grab the back of that slide and pull it. Like it looks like it's designed to do.
No.
That's not how it's designed to do. As you're coming out, you cup that gun in your hand like so. And as you're pushing forward to target, pull back on slide, let go, and the cup. It'll work a lot easier for you because you have your body mechanics work a lot better that direction.
Mm-hmm. Ergonomics.
Exactly.
Another thing, too, is people watch too many movies, and when you see somebody grab just the back end of the slide,
and do this,
charge it that way, rack the slide that way.
Yeah.
Horrible idea, because if your thumb or index finger slides off, you're discharging a round.
Well, you're discharging a round, or you're pulling back, not clearing your magazine, so when you let go to rack the round, there is no round in the slide yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or you pull back, you fully extend, but you tear the shit out of your thumb and forefinger on your non-dominant hand. So racking the slide on the next magazine, is rather difficult.
And
So,
for
cup
some
the top,
people, maybe impossible,
push.
and that'll get you killed.
Oh yeah.
That'll get you killed.
Yep.
Or the wrong person, a wrong person, because you've got it pointed at some odd angle, trying to make it easy to rack that slide, and it's pointing off in the distance. It's not going down range or in a safe position, and you pull that back, your hand slips off, and it slaps that round. Now you've just sent lead in an indiscriminate area. And it could hit a kid, it could hit an innocent bystander, and the threat is now you're screwed up, and the threat's closed in.
Yeah.
You've wasted your time. That moment of opportunity is now gone, and that's when ugly things happen. But,
And Sarge, I agree with you. At 35 feet with a knife attack, yeah, I'm more than likely dead.
That's the standard for most police departments.
Yeah, but that gentleman is also, he would have to show absolutely no aggression towards me, get within 35 feet, pull his knife, and then come running at me, which 90% of confrontations aren't going to happen that way. They're going to pull the knife out, they're going to start yelling at you, screaming at you, I'm going to cut you, blah, blah, blah. By then, my pistol's already out, there's already a round in the tube, and I'm already on target.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fuck around and find out when you deal with somebody that understands how a firearm works and what its use is.
Here's one that's a common situation that they train for, and civilians get trained for as well. It's often very much overlooked. When there's a perpetrator, shall we call him, that's stalking someone, they're watching you, they're going to rob you, they're going to carjack you. They wait until you get in the car, barely close the door, and then they bum rush you. Now your pistol is trapped on your side.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get it out, and they're dragging you out of the car. They're dragging you out of the car, or they got a knife to your throat, and you don't have one in the barrel. Now you're in a really bad spot.
Yeah, you've already lost the fight.
Situational awareness, folks. Situational awareness. Just because you think today is like every other day and nothing's going to happen, BS. You must always look at your surroundings. When you're approaching your car, just give yourself a quick look around. Casually, a quick look around. Is there anybody kind of loitering around? Is there anybody casually walking towards you? Is there anything out of the ordinary? Is anybody else looking kind of goofy? Is there anybody squatting down between cars? Any of that sort of thing. People don't understand how quickly things happen. Even somebody just walking by, you think they're walking by, and then all of a sudden they turn a quick 90, bolt towards you, and they're throwing you out of your car, or they throw you at knife point, and they're going to you're going to lose more than your car. Let's just put it that way. And if you're armed, now you've lost your firearm and your vehicle, and they might even use your firearm on you, because they probably know how to use a firearm better than you. At that point, for the average person that does not train, and that's the caveat, is if you're well trained, you've got situational awareness, you're checking your six, and just get in the habit of doing these things now, folks. There's going to come a time when being untrained, that's going to cause stress on you. That's going to cause hyper focus, which can be very bad in a hostile situation. You've got to just be relaxed. Keep an eye on your six, keep an eye on what's going on around you, and then go about your business. It doesn't take any time. It's just a matter of training yourself to do that, and it becomes second nature. You can save your life or someone else's, because you'll be able to see that same thing going on maybe with the lady in the next parking lane over. You're like, wait a minute, that dude's paying too much attention to that little old lady. Then he's starting to drift towards her. Maybe I should go over there and show a presence, and maybe put one in the tube at that point in time, and then put it back in your holster, and be ready to help your neighbor out or a stranger.
Well, and if you ever get the feeling that you're being followed to your car, don't stop at your car. Keep walking and see if that person continues to follow you. If they do, well, then you know something's up. But there's many times in a parking lot that you can act like you lost your car.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it happens every day. But be aware of who's following you all over that parking lot as you're looking for your car. You know, if you feel there's, and gut feeling comes into a lot of it, but Mr. Grot put a good article in DLive. I would suggest you guys go and take a look at it. It's the 21-foot rule, and it's an examination of it and what they learned. Biggest thing is with a knife attack, it would appear that in a knife attack, make sure that you're always backing up. You know, don't stand your ground. Get used to angling away, pushing away from the individual, making some room. That's just the way it always is. You know, you want to make room between you, especially with a firearm. You're wanting to make room in between you and the bad guy. Worst thing you can do is do your little tee up, plant your feet, point your gun just like you do at the range, and think that everything's going to be okay. Now, a couple of things. One, you're the widest target that you've ever been, because you're standing square straight away from the individual. The second thing is they're closing and you're standing still. It's pretty easy to put you back on your heels at that point if you're not already down and moving away. Literally put your hand up so when they run into it, they push you away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that you can do to give yourself time.
Get an object, if you can, get an object of any kind in between you, and even if it's a shopping cart or a car.
Yeah, even if it's your arm.
Two of you.
Get your arm in between them. If they cut your arm, that's a hell of a lot better than them cutting your chest.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm just saying, pretty much everywhere we go, there's going to be some sort of structure or object that you can parry around, even if it's a tree.
Yeah.
You know, a bush. It could be a hedge. They're not going to be able to get through that.
The front bumper of your car. If you angle, you don't have to be on the other side of the car.
No, just the corner of it.
Just get to the corner of it and get back away from that corner. They have to make that round or jump over the car, one of the two. Mm-hmm. But that, again, gives you that small amount of time. And you don't lose track of your target. That's the other thing. When you're moving away, you always still want to be facing that target. Never turn and run and then try to turn back. Doesn't end well.
Yep. Time slows down in those situations for a lot of people. It's a very weird thing. I don't know if it's scientifically, if it's ever medically been explained through adrenaline dump or GHB dump or what it is, but there's a chemical reaction that happens physiologically within people when they're in that type of fight or flight type situation,
mm-hmm.
Near death type situation. Time tends to slow down in critical situations. And you'll hear this from a lot of different people. Tunnel vision is another big problem. But a fraction of a second is all it takes for something to go sideways. Just a fraction of a second. Things happen very, very, very fast. So the more you train, the more situational awareness you have, you're cutting that adrenaline dump down, and you're cutting the potential for tunnel vision. You're cutting
mm-hmm.
it down. And folks, for the love of the good Lord, stop closing one eye when you're looking down the side. Stop it. Stop. This is not a Bruce. This is not a John Wayne movie where you're going to look at the guy on the horizon, squint one eye, and squeeze one off. No, keep both your eyes wide open, like Alexandria Cortez. You want big old saucer eyeballs like that popping out. You want your peepers seeing everything.
Yep.
It might not be one threat. It could be multiple threats.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised when your adrenaline starts to come up, because I've had the fortunate pleasure of going through highway patrolman training just on a whim. I wasn't trying to be a highway patrolman, don't get me wrong, but they happened to be at the community college that I was going to school at to be a butcher, and they were training in their it was called a techno screen. So it was basically this gigantic projector screen that was in front of you with huge speakers behind, and you had a laser-fired firearm that you had on your hands. And it was kind of neat because, they wanted police relations between us kids and the highway patrol anyway. So they said, hey, anybody wants to come up and play with the machine, just be here at 4:30 and get in line, and we'll let you come up and run through a scenario. And you wouldn't think that being in a situation where you're looking at a projector screen and having these gigantic speakers behind you would ramp your adrenaline up.
Mm-hmm.
But holy shit, do you start to forget where you are? Because you're in this dark room. You know, they have all the lights shut off, so the only thing you're seeing is what's directly in front of you. It's an arced screen, so you have about 120 degrees of vision. And there is shit going on this side of you, and you have to start making decisions in a snap second of who's friend, who's foe, and who are you trying to save.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to realize you gain a lot more respect for law enforcement officers when you see what the hell they have to think about in that snap instant. And
jobs, one of the most difficult jobs, decision-wise, that there is in all of society, any society. That judgment call that you have to make in a fraction of a second. Just because something moves doesn't mean it's a target. It might be a lady holding a baby.
Well, and think about what's going through their heads. They have to make the decision of, 1, do I save him? 2, do I kill him? 3, am I making the wrong mistake and I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going through their head when they pull that pistol out of their holster. All of those things are going through their head. That's why when you always see these mistaken cop shootings, what's the first thing they do? They start crying, wailing. They're going to prison for the rest of their life because they know they fucked up.
It's a bad shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Bad shoot. I'm in trouble.
I've got a lot of police, law enforcement in my family. And one thing that I've heard most commonly through them and their friends is when they joined the force, they wanted nothing more to be Billy Badass. I'd go out there and stop crime and do that sort of a thing. And then as they got a little bit, the green wore off, you know, behind the ears a little bit. Then the old timers would say, you know, the one thing I'm most proud about in my career, I've never unholstered my pistol on duty.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a big thing. That's a real big thing. There's a lot of John Rambo wannabes out there, but I'll tell you what, folks, you don't want to be in that situation. Whether it turns out to be in your favor and nothing happens to you and it's a good shoot, you don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, you still had to take the life of somebody.
You don't have to take the life. And if you ever do, you're going to wear that for the rest of your life, and that's something you got to remember.
Yeah, it doesn't go away. I mean,
and you go about your daily business. No, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night, and you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have problems.
Well, think about that. The most recent one, that L.A. shooting.
Somebody dying is not pretty.
Yeah. Think about that L.A. shooting that they just had, where the guy was going crazy in the department store, and the gentleman, I mean, he was beating the hell out of a woman with a bike lock. Officers went in. The gentleman with a AR-15 took the lead. Come around the corner, saw the gentleman with the bike lock. Gal was laying on the floor bleeding. Saw the bike lock in his hand, wasn't sure what he was going to do. He shot 4 times, suspect on the ground. Okay. Good shoot, right? He did everything he was supposed to do. Cleared, made sure everything was good to go. There was a young girl hiding with her mother in the fitting room directly behind the suspect.
Oh, no.
The way it is looking right now, a round skipped off the ground, or off the floor, hit the 14-year-old girl in the fitting room and killed her.
See, how do you get over that?
Yeah. And it's absolutely no fault of his. He had no control of that round after it landed on target. But he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. And he did his job correct.
Yeah, that's why I say you're never going to heal from that. Never. Even if that little girl wasn't there and nobody else got hurt but the bad guy, it's our human nature for some reason. Unless you've got some kind of psychological bend, you're still going to see that guy when you close your eyes. You're still going to see those death throes when you close your eyes. It's going to affect how you perform and you go about your daily life from there on forward, because you just took a life, whether it was justified or not. People don't.
Well, and there's a lot of times
Hollywood has mangled people's perception of what reality is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I don't want to compare it to hunting, but if you're ever around people that take hunting serious and actually understand what they're doing, you'll see the same feeling in a very minuscule way in that person that just took that animal's life. Yeah, when you take the shot and you put it on the ground, it's all celebrations and great fun, but there's a reason that I would say 85% of the time when you walk up to that animal, it's dead quiet, nobody's talking, you're just taking it in.
It's sad, dude. It's sad.
Yeah, because you realize what you just did, and you did it for a good reason. I mean, you did it to put food on the table. But you still just had to take an animal's life to put food on your table.
And you got to look it in the eyes when you start to clean it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and another one too. I hear this a lot online, and it just makes me. I instantly navigate away from the pages. But I hear it quite often, and I'm sure everybody else does too. Everybody says headshot, headshot, headshot.
Oh God.
If anybody's ever seen something that's been hit in the head, they don't just drop to the ground and they're quiet and they're still. They don't. They flop around.
Mm-hmm.
They spasm. The central nervous system spasms and freaks out. And it's probably one of the most disturbing things you'll ever see.
Well,
and you're not going to get over that. You're not going to forget about that. It's not going to be like, oh, did I go to Disneyland back in '83? Oh, yeah, I think I did. No, it's not going to be like that. You're going to know the exact moment, the air temperature, what time of day. You're going to know everything. It's going to be imprinted into your head. And that picture will never leave your mind. And it's for a reason. God put that in your brain for a reason. And it's horrific. So, when you see people saying, oh, headshot, headshot, there's something wrong with you, dude. You either don't know what you're talking about, you've never seen it, or you're a psychopath. There's no way around it.
Well, and you have to understand that it would do everyone good. And I know a lot of people are going to argue with me on this, but it would do everyone good to go and field dress an animal. Just once.
Yep. Even just a rabbit.
Yep, because you're going to realize how much...
It doesn't have to be a deer. It doesn't have to be something substantial. It could be just a squirrel, a rabbit. You cut that thing open and start quartering it out, and then tell me how you feel about hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when you're...
It's really easy to drop a dime on something and pull that trigger. It's real easy to do that. But the end result of what you did is a completely different game.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sarge, you're right. Look at what they did to Kyle Rittenhouse. His life is forever changed. Never going to be right. It was justified shooting. He's never going to be okay with it, though.
No,
which is good. If he was okay with it, he would be a nutbag.
Well, you'd want him in jail because he's a threat to society.
Yeah.
That kid, I'll bet you that kid wakes up in cold sweats and nightmares on a regular basis. He's never getting over this. He's going to remember this. If he lives to be 100 years old, he'll tell you exactly what happened to that night, what everybody looked like, because that emotion comes back up, and it will not let you forget it. He will never forget what those people looked like. He will never forget what his environment looked like.
Well, wait until he's around fireworks sometime and smells that gunpowder.
Yeah, and he probably is, that's why he's saying he wants to be an attorney. He's probably not going to pick up another firearm.
Yeah.
And, he's cleared to do so. I'll bet you he's going to be gun shy for quite a long time.
Well, he made the comment that he's having his AR destroyed, and he doesn't know if he's ever going to have another one.
Yep. And see, that's what it does, folks. Stop paying attention to John Wick movies. Yeah, they're cool and they're fun and everything, but that's not how it works in real life.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutally ugly, and you're not going to walk away from it. It's going to do as much damage to you. Well, not as much, but you're going to walk away scarred. You might.
No, it's actually going to do more damage to you because you get to live on and think about it every day.
Well, you're going to suffer with it the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, here's another problem. If you do continue to carry and you continue to do your thing, if you get in another situation, God forbid, you get in another situation like that, the apprehension you're going to have could cost you or someone else their life. Because you've been there, done that, and you don't want to go through it again. So now you're going to hesitate. And that hesitation is all it takes for somebody within 20 feet with a knife to finish you off. And now they've got a gun and a knife.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened, but I'm guessing the cold air just blew in because the wind just went from 0 to about 30 mile an hour outside, so that's great.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going out there.
Yeah, let's see what the temp's doing here. It was 41 today, but it's supposed to be -8 tomorrow.
That's insane.
That's great fun. It's really good for the immune system, let me tell you.
We're only about 28 degrees here. We're nice and warm.
It's 34 degrees right now with wind gusts of 20 to 25 mile an hour. Wait.
One thing I've noticed, that's been going on all across the states. We had it here. We had a week of near 70 degrees last week, and then dropped down to below freezing with wintry mix and tornado warnings and whatnot because of the inversion shift, the low pressure. But the effect of these weird shifts, these anomalous shifts, are going to have on the flora and fauna is going to be very interesting to see in the spring.
Yeah.
Because it's not, animals and plants aren't used to that. When they get ready to shut down and then all of a sudden they're getting triggered for springtime and then right back into the dead of winter, that really messes up the physiology of plants and animals.
Oh, yeah, the geese around here have no idea which way to fly on a given day.
It's like, what the hell's going on?
Well, so here, I'll read you our forecast.
We got to turn around and go back.
Yeah, I'll read you our forecast. Today was a high of 41. Tomorrow, they've changed it now, is a high of 7. Sunday is a high of 35. Monday is a high of 41. Tuesday is a high of 43. Wednesday is a high of 49. And Thursday is a high of 48.
Oh, Lord.
So we're going to be up in the 50s here before too long.
Do you have any historical data from, like, say, Farmer's Almanac or anything for your area as to when these things happen, how it affects your next year's crops?
It depends on the problem is it's not just the temperature. It depends on the snowpack, too.
Yeah.
If you have enough snowpack, winter wheat will stay dormant. And that's probably the number one crop in Montana is winter wheat and spring wheat. So as long as the snowpack stays on, you're usually fine. But when you get high winds like this and it blows the snowpack off, and then it warms up and brings it out of dormancy and then drops the temperature out from underneath you, yeah, now we got a problem.
Do you think that's going to be an issue for you in the spring?
Not yet, but we'll see.
Well, you got another week of this above freezing, so you're going to lose a lot of your snow due to melt.
Yeah, but the ground's not warming up near as fast at night, though. It's still down in the low 30s at night, so.
Okay, so you're holding in there for right now.
Yeah. Dixie Doodle is asking, how do we feel about fishing? Fishing is fine. Yeah,
I don't wake up in the middle of the night with nightmares because I gutted a fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's something about. I think it's something about the switch from, even like a fish or a snake or anything along that lines. When you make the switch over to a mammal, then it becomes an issue. I don't know why. It's hard to explain or even understand, I guess, but
I think it's the eyeballs.
Could be.
I'd say it's the eyes.
But even like a bobcat or a coyote, I enjoy the hell out of shooting coyotes.
I was going to say, dude, screw coyotes.
But you have to admit, if you have a coyote in like a foot trap,
yeah,
and you got to walk up to that thing and put it out of its misery and look it dead in the eyes as you squeeze the trigger, it bothers you a little more than it does when you're at 200 yards and looking through a scope.
It don't bother me.
Really?
No. Actually, that's one of the primary ways that we get yotes around here is number 2 leg hold.
Oh yeah, foot traps and leg holds. Yeah.
You walk up to them, put them down. I don't have a problem with it at all, man.
Now, don't get me wrong. I did it, done it quite a bit, but I don't know. There's something about walking up to that animal and seeing it when it knows it's over. and I'm having to look it in the eyes, it's a little different.
It is. But I'll tell you, I'll grieve over a rabbit more than I'll grieve over a coyote.
Well, yeah, but you've had some bad experiences with coyotes.
All my life, my entire life, man. My entire life I've dealt with those little bastards. And I'm over them. And I just see them, it's the enemy. The other animals aren't enemies. Coyotes are enemy.
I was going to say, all right, let's shift gears and say, let's see, you were a pest controller, so let's say a raccoon in a live trap.
Wildlife remediation.
Okay, wildlife remediation officer. There.
Well, it wasn't an officer, but yeah, state license and all that stuff.
Hey, I'm trying to give you a fancy title here. It's, like a custodial engineer.
I don't need a fancy title, dude. I got paid a lot of money to take care of people's problems.
I'm just giving you shit. But yeah, so let's say a raccoon in a live trap.
Now see, that's a hard thing. It's probably something to be careful on here, because there's very, very strict, stringent rules about releasing certain animals, certain types, anything that's considered a disease vector, such as coyote, bats, squirrels, foxes.
Usually anything that's in the rodent family, canine family, or feline family.
And raccoon as well. Anything that can pass a disease to a human is considered a disease vector. And those animals, by law, must be put down. There is one caveat in the law, and I didn't know this. I was informed of this because the guy I worked for, he felt a lot like I do. We're very much into conservation in the naturalist type of way. And he said, when you're dealing with raccoons, we deal with a lot of them out here. He said, you're going to get two different classes. You're going to get the aggressive ones, and you're going to get very passive ones. And when you run across the aggressive ones, you put them down. But if you run across the passive ones, and there's a stipulation about how much land, private property, written note, all that kind of stuff, but you can do a catch and release on them. And also, when you take the passive ones and you release them in a new area, and they start mingling with other raccoons in that area, some reason that passive gene will spread into the local population. Just as if it has the aggressive gene, it will spread into that local population. So you can do that, and I have released quite a few of them around here because we have enough acreage, we qualify. I don't have to write a note, landowner, and I have let them loose here because I did get them in a live trap, and I look them in the eyes, and I got my rifle, right there, and it's like, I just can't put this guy down. He's not an asshole. It's sitting in the corner cowering, is looking at me with those beady black eyes. I just can't do it. And so, I'd open the trap and let him go. Give him a can of tuna, and then let him go. But then there's other ones when it's like, you dirty bastard, you're going down. I'm making a pelt out of you, buddy. So, situational as well.
Oh yeah. Well, and like the reason that fox bothered me, and I've shot a lot of fox, but we also had a pet fox when I was growing up.
I was going to say, foxes, dude, are so cool. So cool.
They are, but they're little shit stirrers. I mean, they're just bad as a badger when it comes to digging holes.
Oh, that's true. And snatching chickens and everything else, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and when you shoot a fox and it's the wrong time of year and he was just sitting on top of a mound, and then you start hearing that yipping and whining.
I was going to say the noises they make, dude.
Yeah.
When you hear an animal start screaming and wailing like a baby human child, it is unnerving. It's very unnerving. There's
one of the best calls for coyote.
Rabbit squeal.
I was going to say, one of the best calls for coyote is a wounded jackrabbit. Sounds just like a kid.
I know. We use cottontail. We use a cottontail call out here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But there's another one that we used to do with real rabbits, but I'm not going to go into that on the air. Nobody wants to hear those stories. But that sound of the distress call it'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Same with a raccoon, and fox. And I don't know, man. I've got a weak spot for fox. I really do. When I see them playing, jumping around and playing on someone's lawn, and they're just doing their thing and they're yipping, and they have a language all of their own. All these weird little noises they make.
Yeah, that little click yip.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it. I think they're an extraordinary animal, but there are times when they have to be managed.
Yeah,
and that's a polite word of, it's a polite way of saying put them down for the betterment of the area. But
yeah, and that's the.
Here, and I love them. They're beautiful animals.
I mean, for anybody that hasn't been in that situation and hasn't taken the life of another living mammal, let's say, it's a defining moment, whether or not you have what it takes or you don't. There's been many a deer hunter that I've taken out first time deer hunting, and they make the shot, and it's a clean shot, and everything goes just fine, but it's the last year they go hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when they walk up on it and they look at it and go, "Oh God, I did that," and then they don't even want to eat it at that point. They just want to walk away.
Yep. Yeah, just run away. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to see you gut it. I don't want to, nothing.
I don't want to be anywhere around it. Yeah. So that's the keyboard commando type mentality.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think you're prepared to see and experience what this entails.
Yeah, everybody's Rambo until they got to squeeze the trigger.
Mm-hmm. And then see the results.
Yeah.
I think the results of everything's fun up until right after you pull that trigger. There's that excitement. Yeah, I got it. But when you walk up on it and you've got to get your little 3-inch folder out and go to town, a lot of people just walk away. So they won't be able to do it. It's not about having the heart to do it. It's just a psychological thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an understanding that you either have or you don't,
Yep. And
God put that animal on this earth to feed me. Unfortunately, how I have to go about it isn't pretty, but I'm not letting it go to waste.
That I've ever not been bothered by. Coyote is the absolute only animal that I've shot birds and walked up and be like, man, that guy was so pretty. Did I have to get that guy? Why couldn't I have got the ugly one? It's like,
oh yeah.
It's like, man, it's like, and there's just, I think it keeps good men humble.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be a good way to look at it. Is it keeps good men humble. There's people that are out there hot dogging and they're like, yeah, we're gonna go blast some shit. You've never been hunting, have you, buddy?
Well, you might have been hunting, but you never been killing.
A lot of shows on TV, but you never actually been there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange thing, but yeah.
But it's.
By the way, I did drop you a link in Discord if you wanted to come on. And actually, hell, I'm going to have to get off of here so you can fire up your show here soon.
Oh, I'm good, man. I haven't even sprung anything open yet. I don't even know what I'm going to do tonight. I was thinking you were going to go on till like midnight, 1 o'clock.
Well, I would, but I got a show to do tomorrow, so.
I can work on it while we're talking.
Okay. Hey, speaking of which, for those of you that aren't aware, I guess nobody's really aware because I haven't announced it yet, but there's a gentleman over on Foxhole that goes by the name of the Texan. And Wednesday night, somehow we crossed paths, and he was looking for somebody to come on and hang out with him on a Saturday. So we're going to be doing that. I'll actually be over on his channel on Saturday on Foxhole and having just a grand old time playing some country music and cussing and discussing just about what we're doing here, but with some music. And have some new artists, kind of get your guys' opinion of what's coming down the pike. We're both in the scenario where, we like old style country. And we were thinking that country as we knew it was dead. But there's starting to be more and more independent artists out there that remind us of the old boys. So we decided to do a little show on that. And that'll be, I think he said 9 o'clock his time, so that'd be 8 o'clock my time. So 9 o'clock Central over on Foxhole, and it's going to be a Foxhole only show. So if you haven't got your username or any of that set up over there, probably need to do that. And Krusty, you and I got to talk at some point in time about Foxhole to see how if you're making any headway with that situation.
I'm getting a little, let's just say my patience is wearing thin.
Well, yeah.
I've done everything on my end several times, not getting a very good email response. I'm getting the same, repeat BS email. And I say, well, here's what you need to do. I say, well, I did that the last 3 times. You told me to do the exact same thing. So how is this fixing anything?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to get that up and running, put more time into Foxhole. I really love the platform, and I think that over time they're going to polish it up, and it's going to be probably one of the best platforms around. But kind of a little irritated right now that it's been going on 3 weeks. It's closing 3 weeks now that I haven't been able to stream over there. You can watch the chat, but what's bothering me the most is people over on Foxhole think it's my problem, or it's something on my end, and they're mad at me and pissed off at me, when in fact it's completely out of my hands and there's nothing I can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing I can do about it. I'm not getting a response, and until I get some kind of response from the Pill Sport team, Methods, somebody, and they actually take the time to get this shit sorted out, I'm dead in the water over there.
Gotcha.
So it's really kind of it's a big letdown at this point. But we'll persevere. So if that's the biggest problem I got going on in my life, I'm doing great, right?
That's a worst case scenario, yeah.
If that's my worst case scenario, then hell, I'm doing pretty good. But no, hopefully, now that the holidays are over and everybody's settling back down a little bit and it's still a little quiet, maybe I can get a little bit more attention. Because I don't know what it is, but I think they might, and because they slapped my channel together so fast when they're running everybody through in that initial phase, some coding or something's goofy. They might have to tear my channel down and rebuild it.
Gotcha.
I don't know, but maybe they can go in there and just correct some code. I don't know. That's out of my hands. I don't know how to do that stuff. But I know for a fact that everything on my end is squared away. Everything's in its place. Everything's right where it was. And I was streaming over there for months.
Oh, yeah.
But then I never had replays.
Yeah.
I never had replays, which there was something goofy from the get-go, and then it finally just corrupted and everything shut down. So I don't know what that's about. I hope to be back up and running over there, folks, for all of you on Foxhole that are listening right now. I didn't abandon you. I didn't drop out for no good reason. It was out of my control, and I hope to be back with you soon.
There you go. Smokey, no, I have not found the naked alien running around over here yet. But I haven't been down to Deer Lodge either, so I'm avoiding that area. Thanks to your article, by the way.
The naked alien? Do I?
Yeah.
know?
I guess there's a rancher down in it's around the Deer Lodge area that has caught a naked alien on his game cam, or what appears to be a naked alien.
Are you sure it's not a snow Mexican from Canada slipped across the border?
It might be. Looked like it was moving fairly fast when the camera took a picture of it. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Sure it's an alien and maybe not something a little bit more terrestrial?
Well, I asked him if it was Sally. He didn't think so. But, yeah.
The cryptid world is a very fascinating one. It's a very, very fascinating topic. A lot of people dismiss it, but I'm quite intrigued by it. There's just too many people that are saying the very same thing, and they're people that don't know each other from different eras, from all around the world, and they describe very same or similar type encounters with different type things. And, they're dismissed as, you're on drugs, or you're drinking, or you're just making that up. You just want some attention. Yeah, I don't think hundreds of thousands of people fit in that category. And I don't think a lot of them, especially law enforcement, military, people with very high-level positions, either in public or private, when they tell these stories, they're not looking for the attention. They don't want the attention. And most of the time, they don't want to give their name because they're afraid it's going to do something to their career.
Well, look at how many Air Force pilots didn't want to talk about UFOs. And now suddenly that's mainstream news.
I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, Commander Fravers was the first one to openly come out and talk about it. Mm-hmm. And he had a limited amount of
leeway
that you could actually go into.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like with Bigfoot, a lot of people laugh at it and that sort of a thing. It's like, go ahead and laugh at it. Go ahead. And when you have an encounter yourself in the wild, and you about crap yourself because you're defenseless, you can't run, you can't do anything, and this thing's over 8 feet tall, shoulders 4 foot wide, coming in at over $1,000 in weight.
Yeah, but see, I'm pretty safe because Smokey said that Sally doesn't like cold weather, so.
Oh, that's a load of hokum. Montana is full of run-ins. Full.
There is a.
They're in Georgia too.
There's a gentleman not too far from me here that I think what in the hell is his website? I think it's called Squatch Watch, and he goes out looking for him up in the mountains, and I don't know.
I've had a run-in once. I never saw it, but I know damn well it wasn't anything else. And it terrorized me, man. I haven't been camping since then. I haven't gone camping or hunting. When I fish on the water, like in a boat on the water. I don't fish from the banks anymore. I don't walk around anymore. I don't do any of that anymore.
What, you think Sally's can't swim?
I don't give a shit. I love fishing, and that was the one thing. It's like, I can get away from the hunting thing, but I really got to fish. And so it's like, all right, I'll compromise, and I'll go out in boats. So I got a kayak, and I fish from a kayak. And if I'm not doing that, or at a reservoir where there's people around, I'm not doing it. I'm not hiking into these areas alone anymore. I'm just not going to do it. So I know, and it sounds stupid. I know. Talking about it, but when you go through it, and you're isolated, and there's damn well not a person, because there's nobody around. It's not an animal. It's on 2 feet. It's heavy, and it's paying attention to you. And you're in this flimsy little fucking nylon tent, and it's walking around outside your tent, going through your camp, and you don't have a firearm.
I don't want to read what Smokey Randy is telling you right now.
Yeah. If I were you, your best follow your best judgment on that one. There, Montana.
Well, yeah.
Smokey.
Damn it.
Only on D-Live, right?
Well, he's just mentioning that they're good at what they do. Let's put it that way.
Professional grade. Nope, I'm good. I don't need anything like that again. And we get a lot of reports from around here, dogmen, that kind of garbage. And those white things those alien-looking white things going through the woods. I've seen several game camera pictures of those things. I don't know what they are. I don't think they're aliens. I think there's something else. But that's creepy, dude. That's as creepy as it gets. And can you imagine if you're out there and you're not in the safety of your house, looking out a window and seeing it go by, or you're not looking at a photo of a game camera that it happened yesterday. You're actually in
live.
Yeah, you're walking out of the woods after dark, or you're going into the woods before sunrise to get into your stand or whatever, and you're coming across something like that, one of those things. I think it's going to change your perception of the world real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's not funny no more.
Well, I swore up and down when I was 19, 20 years old. We were out, a bunch of us buddies went out camping, and of course we were all drinking beer and having a grand old time, but we were at a lake that was fairly remote, and you would have swore that all of us saw an alien, or a UFO. There was this dark triangle-type object that flew over the top of the camp and made absolutely no noise.
Mm-hmm.
Had a few lights on it, but you couldn't really... they didn't look like the standard airplane light, And we were sitting there, and all of us swore to secrecy that we weren't ever going to talk about it because people think we're fucking crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And about 3 years after that, they declassified that Ellsworth Air Force Base in Rapid City, South Dakota, happened to have a few of the B-2 stealth bombers.
The TR-3B Aurora.
Yep.
They've been around since the 90s.
Yeah, and that's what we got to see. And had no idea what it was, you know. Well, of course, it wasn't out in public yet. But, yeah. Let me tell you, that was a creepy-looking aircraft.
Now, here's the question. That begs the question. We know
was it?
That's ours. No, we know that that's ours, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the patents, we've seen the blueprints, we've actually seen them in real life. They're evident. They go out in the daytime, they have cloaking ability, they have anti-grav. All right, so it begs the question, where did that technology come from? Those crafts might be ours and made by us, but where did we get the technology? And if we do have that technology, why isn't that used in the private sector so that we can get off of oil and nuclear fuel, coal, all that? Because if we have anti-grav, we have free electricity.
Well, we just have really good scientists. We just have really good scientists.
Oh, yeah. They make that leap from a jet engine to anti-grav. Okay. All right.
I mean, come on. What else could it be?
Free salad. Do I get a free salad with that story?
Well, yeah, and a bridge in Montana.
Yeah. I know.
Heads over the ocean.
Yeah, over Florida swamp. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't dismiss anything. I keep a very open mind. I like to think outside of the box. I don't take everything seriously. You know, I don't get devoted into anything and say, this is it. This is what it's got to be. No, it could be. You know, you've got to keep an open mind. There's a lot of things that we were told were absolute. And then in the future, it comes out, government, well, they weren't lying. They just misled us. And it's the same thing going on with this scamdemic. Mm-hmm. If anybody's got basic science knowledge, you know, 2.5 is a lot smaller than 7. A mask is a 7 micron. Virus is 2.5. Why the hell are you wearing a mask? And they just came out with it now, again, saying, oh, yeah, masks aren't effective. It's like, okay, well, you said that in the beginning, and then you said wear 1, wear 2, wear 3, wear a face shield, wear gloves, blah, blah, blah. And yet we know there's nobody in a virology lab, in a biolab, that's wearing a paper or cloth mask to protect themselves. What are they wearing? A self-contained hazmat suit. So if this was so deadly, why aren't they issuing hazmat suits instead of $30,000 respirators? Hazmat suits cheaper than that. Mm-hmm. Why isn't everybody running around in a yellow suit? If it was a true threat, the true biological pandemic that they say, we should all be in hazmat suits, correct?
You're going to get me in trouble now.
No, I'm just saying. We can go on to a different topic. But my point is that deception, sometimes there's valid cause for it. Sometimes there is absolutely valid cause for the deception. It's necessary, national security, what have you, or just the race against our opponents on the world stage. Mm-hmm. But the sad thing is that people buy into that deception and then stick with it. So when things change, they don't change with the new information.
Yeah.
And then they refuse to accept the truth because they prefer the comfort of the deception. And that's where we're at right now. We know, Matt, that certain face coverings, shall we call them, don't work. And yet I see people wearing 2 of them with a face shield and gloves that come into our shop every Sunday.
MCAT, thank you for the host. Good to see you.
A lot of money. I know you're an intelligent person. Why are you not understanding these basic science facts that aren't going to change? The basics of math and science don't change. But they throw that out the window because they were told so.
Yeah. And Texan, you're absolutely right. People are throwing masks on the ground. Wouldn't that be a biological hazard?
Absolutely. It's bio-waste.
Mm-hmm.
That means that whole area has to be quarantined and decontaminated. But are they? No, they're all washing out into the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
And or, clogging up storm drains. And you see them in the parking lots laying all over the ground.
Oh, God, they're everywhere. And not that many people are wearing them in Montana, and they're still everywhere. I mean, you see them blowing across the ground. That's just partially disgusting, but whatever.
I'll tell you what. If it came down to if a stranger took a mask off and handed it to me, they say, you can either wear this mask or you can have a puff of my cigarette.
I'd take a puff of the cigarette.
I'd wear the mask.
I'd take the puff of the cigarette.
I'm not going to come in contact with their saliva.
You already are when you put the mask on.
Yeah, but when they take a puff off a cigarette and they hand it to you and you put that in your mouth, you're directly crossing your salivas. Trouble. And plus, also, you don't have to worry about necessarily that virus. It could be an STD. Next thing you know, you got herpes all over your face.
Well, that's true.
From a mask.
Well, you never know what they're doing on the other side of that mask.
Well, that's a good point, and I'm not going to because that's a dark road that I don't want my mind going into.
You know, you don't know if 5 seconds before that they didn't sneeze in their own mask and forget to pull it off their face.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. But my point being is, there's a lot in this world that's a lot more risky and or dangerous to your health than what we're being told.
Well, and psychologically, there is a controlling factor that comes with covering people's faces.
Massive psychological.
Yes.
Effect. Massive psychological effect. And you know what's hurting the most?
Kids.
Young children.
Yep.
Young children can't see your face. They learn through facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're devoid of that, they have no way to read another person, and that's going to shape their personality and change their personality.
Well, if someone can't see your facial expressions, how do they know you're either being a smartass or you're being honest?
Or you're happy or you're sad.
Yeah.
Or you're sticking your tongue out at them, or you're grinning, or you're sneering. They don't know. Which does what? It builds confusion, questioning, and mistrust in fellow man, but not the authority. You see how it's been shifted. The doubt has been shifted. It's like, oh, don't look over here, look over there. It's one of those tactics. Don't look at my right, what I'm doing with my right hand. Look at what's going on in my left hand. Yep. And I honestly don't believe that there was the situation that we're told is not correct at all. Not at all. Not in the least. I still haven't seen a picture of the virus isolated under a spectron microscope. Still haven't seen it. Nobody can produce it. Nobody can produce it. That's why the guy in Canada, he won that court case against the Crown. He said, I just need proof. You made a claim, and I'm counterclaiming that. So you show me your evidence, and then I'll comply. But if you don't have any evidence, I'm not going to comply. He won the case.
Mm-hmm.
They had no proof that it even exists. But there's one thing I'm really happy about, very, very ecstatic. Last year and a half, not one person's died of the flu.
Well, we just had our first infant in Montana died of the flu.
Really?
Yep.
So the flu's making a comeback in Montana.
The flu never fucking left.
No, you don't say. Conspiracy theorist. I'm hanging up. I can't talk to your kind.
Well, you could always hang up and go get on the damn Discord so I could see you.
Oh, I'm on Discord.
Well, you goofy bastard. All you got to do is click the button.
Well, wait a minute. PC help is trying to. Yeah, no.
Well, and Texan, that special that you ran with Glenn Beck yesterday, that was a pretty good one. If you guys don't know, that would be a good. It's a 2-hour documentary. Be a good one to go look up. A lot of answers about what the hell went on in the last year and a half. You know, kind of like the federal government owning half the patent on the mRNA vaccines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how much money Dr. Fauci has invested in this whole thing.
Dr.
Considering
Fucky.
He's got a patent on AIDS as well. That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Or the HIV virus, and he has a patent on this virus as well. How is a patented product, how does that become our liability, the public's liability?
Yeah, I thought you can.
Would the liability fall on the patent holder?
Yeah, you would think that patents are also created products. They're not discoveries.
That's the point. It's a created product. So does the liability for all of this fall on the patent holders? They created it.
I just don't know because I'm on YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, so you're getting all the accurate.
In fact, we're just going to shut